Let us pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor and blessings as your servants whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. I don't have any. You have any? Yes, sir.
Anything? No. This is the fresh majority leader. Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
The one Maura was to bring, if you I can read. Kuna Maura.
Okay, we start with the petition by the Chair Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare, Senator Sakaja. No, brother. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, Wednesday, 11th of November, 2020. What was that? Report of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on a petition to the Senate concerning the rounding up, detention, transfer and dumping of street children by the Nakuru County government. Mr. Speaker, as is tradition, kindly allow me to just give salient features of this petition because the report is not discussed, but just the features of it. Mr. Speaker, this petition was presented to the Senate on the 27th of February 2019 by Senator Susan Kihika, the Senator for Nakuru County, and newlywed. The Speaker further directed that the petition be dealt with the standing newlywed by the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. The committee acknowledges the petition is long overdue, but Mr. Speaker, we note that it raises very delicate and pertinent matters regarding the welfare of children and in particular the welfare of street children. Mr. Speaker, we held 8 sittings, including with the petitioner, the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, the State Department of Social Protection, representatives of the Street Families Rehabilitation Trust Fund. Mr. Speaker, we even visited the street children twice and went to that center. At that point, the Trust Fund had no board, and they're in the process of developing the national policy on street families. They've just been nominated to the board, and through our discussion with them, they were able to give us a draft policy, and we're still engaging with them once the draft is finalized. Mr. Speaker, we met virtually with the governor of, with Governor Liki Nyanjui, the governor of Nakuru County, who denied that such an incident occurred, Mr. Speaker, despite the fact being on the face of the matter. We made arrangements for a site visit to Nakuru County. Mr. Speaker, we had planned to meet the county commissioner, the county assembly, committee in charge of children and welfare, and the county government and the petitioners. Mr. Speaker, during that visit, the county commissioner informed me that he was new in the office and had no information. This is a little more than a year after. The county assembly and the county governor did not meet the committee. The governor didn't give an apology, and we saw him attending a funeral on TV. So, Mr. Speaker, we visited the Jomek Rehabilitation Center, where the rescued children have been housed, and met petitioners, some of the victims, and other stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, on the prayers, following the committee's engagement with the stakeholders in the petition, the petitioner's prayer that the Senate investigates the matter, the following observations were made. Mr. Speaker, the policy approach taken by Nakuru County government in addressing the plight of street children and families through rounding them up and dumping them in forests seems to be one that is applied by other counties. And I remember, Mr. Speaker, at some point, Senator Wetangula brought a similar matter of street children being rounded up, and because their noses look like Senator Lusaka's and mine, they are taken to Bungoma from Eldoret, from Uasin Gishu, because they look like they're from Western, Mr. Speaker. And this is what happened. Mr. Speaker, on the night of 6 February 2019, 41 children were forcibly removed from the streets of Nakuru. They were put in trucks, in the cell, then later in the vehicle numbers we have, were taken and dumped into Chemasusu forest in groups of 6. 5 of them have never been found, so that they could be, whatever would happen in the forest would happen to them, Mr. Speaker. Despite the incident of unlawful detention and dumping of the children being reported, and there's an OB number 69/7/2019, and subsequent follow-ups by the DCI officers on the issue, it remains inconclusive. The County Assembly of Nakuru, upon invitation from the committee, refused to appear. Mr. Speaker, the county government also declined to appear before the committee on Friday the 2nd, despite the fact that this was earlier agreed upon with the committee. They didn't give any reason for non-attendance, neither sent any representative of the county government, despite a formal invitation by the committee. Mr. Speaker, on the petitioner's prayer that the Senate investigates the matter and make appropriate recommendations with a view to ensure that the rights and welfare of the children are upheld, that appropriate measures are taken, including necessary policy and legislative interventions to ensure that street children across the country are protected, treated with dignity, we made these observations. That, Mr. Speaker, both levels of government have adopted a correctional, reactive, repressive, and inhumane institutional approach of addressing the plight of street children, and as such view street children as delinquents and a threat to public order. This is evident by the obsession with forced removal of children. It happens all across the country, from streets, forced detention, in addition to other extreme measures like dumping children in forests. Mr. Speaker, that there are very minimal deliberate efforts by both the county and national government in addressing the plight of the street children from a humanistic, humanitarian, and rights-based approach with focus on rehabilitation and protection of these children alongside prevention of the root causes of their presence on the streets. That it is alleged, Mr. Speaker, that the reason for rounding up of street children in Nakuru was for Nakuru to obtain city status. And we know that process is ongoing. That the Street Families Rehabilitation Trust Fund, established in March 2003, whose sole aim was to spearhead national government response to restore dignity to street families and eradicate the challenge of street children and families, once only became operational 16 years later in 2019. That there exists a national framework for child protection in Kenya that dates back to 2002, and that gave life to sets of laws and policies that protect children from violence, exploitation, including but not limited to the Children's Act 2001, and that there exists no framework to address issues pertaining to children in difficult circumstances. And more specifically, the street children and families are growing phenomenon in several towns and cities, a scenario that is likely to be exacerbated given this COVID pandemic and post-COVID pandemic. Mr. Speaker, having reviewed the submissions and the meetings and all the material from petitioners and other stakeholders on the prayers by the petitioners, we recommend the following. Number one, that the Director of Criminal Investigations takes up the matter reported on under OB number 6972/2019 for investigation, conclusively finalize the case and report to the Senate within 2 months. Mr. Speaker, the DCI further investigates alleged bribery of street children, and we have photos and documentary evidence that was presented to us and potential witnesses by county officials whose photos we also have presented in the report. That the Senate suspends, and I wish Senator Kajwang was here or any member of the Devolution Committee, that the Senate suspends the process of conferring Nakuru city status until the county government demonstrates plans and efforts it has taken in addressing the plight of street families and making sure it has provisions for children in need of care and protection. Until the county government demonstrates to the Committee of Devolution the efforts it has made, even if it is through budgetary allocation or whatnot, that efforts it has made and the plans to address the plight of street families and making sure there's provisions for rehabilitation of children in need of care, that the Senate shall not confer city status on Nakuru County. That the officials mentioned adversely in this report, Mr. Speaker, we have their names and their numbers and photos, as having participated in the violations of the rights of these children, including subsequent intimidation as reported, be investigated and held personally culpable. Mr. Speaker, there are 6 children, human lives, children like mine and yours, who since that day cannot be traced. They can't be found. They were probably eaten up by animals in the forest. They probably died. Other children said it is not the first time it happened. Even the previous county government of Nakuru had done that to them. Mr. Speaker, these children have the same right as my children, as your children, the children of Kenya. This matter cannot be taken lightly by whoever is listening. Mr. Speaker, on the second prayer, as I move, I'll conclude very quickly, on recommendations that appropriate measures are taken in terms of policy and legislative interventions to ensure that street children across the country are protected, treated with dignity, and accorded the opportunities, including but not limited to social protection. We recommend that, number one, the National Council for Children's Services follow up on the issue of dumping of street children in Chemasusu, and they must present their own independent report to the committee in 30 days from the tabling of this report from today. The county government of Nakuru ensures it complies with sections 40 and 42 of the Children Act by one, providing for children who are in need of care and protection, provision for accommodation and maintenance of children, furtherance in the best interest of children in the care, provision of financial assistance towards the expenses of maintenance, education or training of children, and the accommodation of children in voluntary homes, including homes set up by voluntary children institutions. Mr. Speaker, the National Council for Children's Services should report to the Senate within 2 months on the compliance level of Nakuru County. And that report then shall be shared with the Committee of Devolution as well, as it addresses the matter of conferment of city status. The Ministry of Labor, working in collaboration with Street Families Rehabilitation Trust, develop and finalize this policy and for adoption by Parliament and present it to Parliament within the next 3 months. In addition, there are other perspectives, Mr. Speaker, that I will not go into, that have been listed in the report from A to H, which, Mr. Speaker, goes into the specifics. Mr. Speaker, we want personal culpability. These children, we first met them when we were dealing with Solai. You remember how long ago that was? We met them again just a few months ago. The trauma. These children need to be compensated. There needs to be compensation to these children. Somebody must take responsibility. Children cannot be put in vehicles with county number plates, and a governor says he's not aware. The matter has been in the news. He says he has not heard the issue. He has not seen the Hansard. Mr. Speaker, that irresponsibility cannot be supported by this Senate. And for the rest of the country, and for anybody who wishes to care to listen, Mr. Speaker, county governors must know, and even all public officials, that the strength of your county is not on brick and mortar or conferment of the status of city or a name. It is what you do for the most vulnerable in that county, or in that city, or in that office, for the least of those in society who cannot do anything for themselves. Mr. Speaker, we focus too much on things that are extra and additional and forgotten to focus on the hearts and, you know, humanity, just basic humanity. That is what this country is dying for. That's what this country is crying for. Mr. Speaker, we went there, Senator Shionga shed a tear. We shed tears, Senator Mwaruma, on the plight of these children. We now know them personally, and I want to commend, and I had just forgotten that. Mr. Speaker, allow me, in conclusion, to commend one Honorable John Mutudho, former member of Parliament for Naivasha, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, he has housed those children in those numbers, rehabilitated them, taken them through trauma, counseling. Some of them, Mr. Speaker, the state they were in, even medically, at no cost. The county government of Nakuru must compensate. And I know he didn't do it to be paid. He didn't do it even for politics or to be seen. But Mr. Speaker, God will remember what Honorable Mutudho has done for those children. And his own children will never go hungry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I table the report.
It's okay. Mr. Speaker, I know that Chairman Sakaja presented whatever report he was presenting under Standing Order number 232, paragraph 2, which states clearly that the report shall be laid and no debate permitted. But, Mr. Speaker, the same standing order gives you, Mr. Speaker, the powers to allow just some observations and comments.
Yeah.
I know it's not been the practice, but I want to plead with you, Mr. Speaker, that on this particular one, if you can allow us the 10 minutes to just make some observations and observations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'll go first. I know Senator Wetangula is king. I'll go first. Mr. Speaker,
Okay.
let me begin by thanking Chairman Sakaja. Mr. Speaker, this is the second petition he's presenting this week as the chairman for the Labour Committee. Mr. Speaker, the the petition he presented yesterday was very thorough. And in this particular one, they've demonstrated that they did a thorough job investigating the matter, and I'm sure the petitioners will be happy that the petition has been done justice. So we thank Senator Sakaja and his committee for the good job. Mr. Speaker, this is a very sad story. Children in this country and everywhere are all the same before the law and before God. And they must enjoy, even street children must enjoy the same rights that any other children enjoy in this republic. What was done by the county government of Nakuru is, to say the least, absurd. That they could go and dump street children so that they could look good to make Nakuru get the status of a city. Mr. Speaker, it is criminal, it is a sin before God, and they should never be forgiven. So I want to fully agree with the recommendations that have been made by the committee, that the culprits must bear personal responsibility. If indeed we know the names as you've stated, Senator Sakaja, the culprits must be brought to book and face the law as it is. It is a very sad story, and we agree fully with the recommendation of the committee that the Senate suspends making Nakuru a city until they demonstrate that indeed they are ready without doing the camouflages that they are doing. We support the committee, Mr. Speaker, and I want to urge that the Senate adopts the recommendations of this committee. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, listening to the report by my distinguished nephew, the Senator for Nairobi, one cannot help shedding a tear. Mr. Speaker, in the last parliament, I brought here a question where the government and the government of Uasin Gishu rounded up children whom, in their opinion, looked like lawyers and went and dumped them at a leprosy center in Busia County. Towards elections, Mr. Speaker, again, Uasin Gishu County rounded up children who to them looked like lawyers and went and dumped them in Kitale. Then we have this sad story from Nakuru, Mr. Speaker, where the county government of Nakuru rounded up children. This time, I think ethnicity was not an issue because they were trying to play a stupid game of creating a veneer of good looking for them to look and attract a recommendation to become a city. And they were dumped in a forest in Baringo, infested with wildlife. Some of the children have not been found to date. That is criminal nature of the highest count. No wonder, Mr. Speaker, yesterday, the governors had the audacity to say in Naivasha that they want to be en masse excused from criminal liability of any nature. That was their recommendation yesterday as a condition for supporting BBI, that no governor should be held criminally responsible for anything whatsoever, howsoever. This is what they recommended and circulated to all Kenyans. I'm sure, Senators, you have read that. And these are the same people, Mr. Speaker, who are doing these criminal things. These are the kind of people who should be cited for crimes against humanity. Because children, Mr. Speaker, you judge a society on how it treats its children and the elderly and the persons that have incapacities of whatever nature. This case of Nakuru, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the committee for the in-depth report that I have tabled here. And that's why I keep on crying on this floor, Mr. Speaker, that you have to bring back the implementation committee of this House that can routinely follow up these kind of transgressions and hold state officers to account so that when we make recommendations, they are not rhetorics, they are not in vain. We have a committee that has to report back from time to time. The leadership of the County of Nakuru, Mr. Speaker, must be held criminally liable for the missing children. 7 of them who cannot be found, and the presumption is that they were mauled and killed by wild animals in Emboput Forest in Baringo. Kewasis Forest. Chemosus is where there's a beautiful dam. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support these recommendations fully.
Yes.
People must be prosecuted. And I want to urge the House, Mr. Speaker, to also look into the case of Uasin Gishu and the children that were dumped at a leprosy center in Busia and in Trans Nzoia. We can't allow this to happen. We can't say in our constitution that we are a unitary state and we are busy discriminating against people on the basis of their ethnicity. Nairobi belongs to everybody. Every city belongs to everybody. Today, my distinguished Senator Sakaja can decide to relocate to Mandera and go and live there and become part of Mandera community. My brother Mohamud here can choose to come and live in my village in Bungoma and become part of our community. If he has not achieved his 4 wives under the Quran, he can also pick a local one to add to his numbers and become part of us. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the committee and I want to thank you for exercising your discretion to allow members to deal with this issue. Okay. This is the kind of report, Mr. Speaker, if we changed our standing orders, that would have attracted a motion for members to debate this kind of callous, reckless, inhuman, criminal behavior by people who call themselves leaders. These are people that Robert Mugabe once said they're worse than pigs. These are the kind of people we don't want in our society. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Onesimus Murkomen. Senator Murkomen.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to thank Senator Sakaja, the chair of the committee, for doing a fantastic job. Mr. Speaker, without any fear of contradiction, I want to say that Senator Sakaja is one of the chairs in this House who has led with distinction. And every time, Mr. Speaker, a responsibility is given to him, he has delivered, Mr. Speaker, 100%. And for avoidance of doubt, I have seen some opinion polls around rating us colleagues in this House. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that if I was given a chance to rate my colleagues, I would rate Senator Sakaja highly for, Mr. Speaker, his performance in this House. And, Mr. Speaker, I've seen these recommendations, and I don't want to spend a lot of time because we did spend a lot of time when the petition was brought here. What I want to appreciate is that the recommendations are solid. And many of these recommendations depend on other people performing their work. That is the DCI, Mr. Speaker, taking out responsibility to investigate thoroughly and present a report to DPP for prosecution. Mr. Speaker, the other recommendation depends on the culprit, which is the county government of Nakuru, which, Mr. Speaker, who are actually dumping the kids, and it's because of a status they want to achieve of a city of Nakuru, which now becomes the moral hazard for harassing and punishing innocent children. It is a paradox because all cities in the world, including New York City, Chicago, Nairobi, Johannesburg, have street children, Mr. Speaker. And it is for that reason that there are certain responsibilities required of a county government to deal with street children. It is because of the city status that attracts street children. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, it would never be a street if it was a village. So, Mr. Speaker, it is sad that little children are being punished because in pursuit of mortar and brick and status that, Mr. Speaker, should be achieved by helping the weak and the poor. And therefore, because of that, specifically because of that, Mr. Speaker, I want us to take recommendation number 3 very seriously. That, Mr. Speaker, for the county government to respond, because they attach a lot of importance, Mr. Speaker, to the accreditation, to the status of a city, because they attach a lot of importance to it. I want us as a Senate to hold that status, approval of that status, Mr. Speaker, until this issue is sorted out, Mr. Speaker, because it is the very issue that initiated the punishment of these kids. And if we do so, I am very sure that the county government, because they want the city status, will respond, Mr. Speaker, to this issue of the children within even a week, Mr. Speaker. And I am glad I sit in the devolution committee chaired by Senator Moses Kajwang. I will personally ensure that this discussion takes place in the committee. And Mr. Speaker, I think Senator Cherargei also sits there. And Mr. Speaker, when the report comes here, we will have a collective, and I hope Senator Sakaja sits in the Senate Business Committee. When the report comes for debate in this House, because this is a recommendation of our committee, the Senate Business Committee should hold that report until, Mr. Speaker, we achieve the implementation of this particular section before it is tabled in this House. Mr. Speaker, that is the only way if there are sections that the Constitution gives us teeth to bite, we take advantage of such a recommendation to bite hard until, Mr. Speaker, the county government of Nakuru would respond to the kids that were dumped in Chemasusu Forest, unfortunately. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Musurve, you keep it short. We have very limited time on that matter.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this talk time. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say that Senator Sakaja has brought a very important petition on the floor of this House, and I actually congratulate him for being concerned about the vulnerable, the street children. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to issues of children, Kenya is a signatory of the Convention on the Rights of Children, and this was even effected in the UK in 1998, Honorable Speaker. And now that Kenya is part of the signatory, it is actually bound by international laws. And Honorable Speaker, if Kenyans, we are flouting international laws, there are repercussions. And I want to tell the floor of this House that the county government has a mandate of ensuring that it has even a biodata of the vulnerable in their county, a biodata of even street families, and see how to integrate street families into the society, Honorable Speaker. Because when children become misfits in the society, then I will have them joining wrong groups, we'll have them mugging, the rest of the people in the society. And what the county government did is something that is truly wrong. It is unacceptable, and we have to know that children have rights. And these rights of children are actually a subset of the human rights. Every human being has a right, and children have rights. And these rights have to be protected. Children need protection. Children need mentorship. It is not their fault that they're on the streets. They never asked to be on the streets. We have to empathize with those children and see how they can be rehabilitated so that they're part of the society, Honorable Speaker. And I want to actually support what Senator Sakaja has said, that the county government of Nakuru should not be given the city status should not be given the city status until it is keen, sensitive about the street children. Honorable Speaker, I want to support Senator Sakaja that we all have to be sensitive on issues of children. There are no two ways about it, and the county government must do what it is supposed to do. That is ensuring that children have their rights, ensuring that children have an education, ensuring that children have a family, and this is also constitutional, Honorable Speaker, because when we look at Article 53, it is enshrined in Article 53, the rights of children. And when you're talking of children, we are talking of all kinds of children, regardless of whether they're street children, or whether they are farm children, or whether they are what. Children must be respected, Honorable Speaker. I support this statement.
Senator Farhia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First of all, those children's plight is the fault of the society, Mr. Speaker. Because if we had taken care of social fabric, those children would never have been in that situation, Mr. Speaker. We have lost our social fabric as a country, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, the county government plus the officials who carried out that uncouth act should be very much ashamed that they have no human, sympathy for those children. Mr. Speaker, the other issue is Senator Sakaja said that both the county assembly and the governor refused to see the committee. Mr. Speaker, what is our role as people who are having oversight over counties if a governor can decide whether to meet a committee or not to meet? That is something I think we should not accept, and I think this House needs to do something about that act, Mr. Speaker. And then, Mr. Speaker, we are talking about the other day about Utu in terms of, and I seek your permission for mixing the language. Where is that sense of kindness in the people who carried out that act? Don't you, even if you don't have children of your own, don't you have any relatives? And then, Mr. Speaker, the county government should be compelled to provide shelter for those children. Let them provide shelter, because that is the only way those children will be out of the streets. There is no any other way. And I agree with my colleagues that the city status of Nakuru should be withheld by this House until this matter is concluded, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I think when you think about your status as a city over the life of human being, then I think you are an animal who does not deserve to be part of society, Mr. Speaker, and we should get rid of you as quickly as possible. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Olekina, and our time is up on that matter. It's not appearing.
Mr. Speaker, I'll donate 2 of my minutes to Senator, with your permission. I'll actually only take 2 minutes. Mr. Speaker, let me begin by stating it clearly that
Sorry, I didn't get what you said, Senator
Mr.
Ledam.
Speaker, I said, with your permission, if the time is up, I can donate a minute to Senator Mtula and a minute to Senator Dulo. With your permission, of
And
course.
I want to, because this is your birthday,
Yes.
just contribute. I'll give him his own,
Thank you,
his own time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You are very kind. Mr. Speaker, let me begin by saying that I completely agree with the recommendation by Senator Sakaja.
Eh?
Thank you very much. I visited those 3 children when we went to visit the other children at the Solai site. And let me begin by commending the work of former Member of Parliament of Nakuru, Mutudho, for the good work that he has done. Nakuru East. Mr. Speaker, I'm looking at the Urban Areas and Cities Act, following up on the recommendation given by the committee of Senator Sakaja. And it clearly says that, 1, the President may, on resolution of the Senate, confer the city status on a municipality that meets the criteria set out in Section 5 by a grant of a charter in the prescribed form. And in the 5 one, it talks about 1, has institutionalized active participation by its residents in the management of its affairs, has infrastructural facilities, including but not limited to roads, street lighting, markets, fire stations, and adequate capacity for disaster management. And finally, has the capacity to effectively and efficiently deliver essential services to its resident as provided in the 5th schedule. Mr. Speaker, when you read those conditions given for a city to be conferred, Nakuru County does not. Because if it did, then it would have provided adequate facilities for all its residents. It would have involved even the street children in the management of Nakuru County. So, Mr. Speaker, that is one thing. And this is when I like the fact that slowly by slowly, this government is beginning to feel the power of this House. And the country is beginning to feel the power of this Senate. When we amended the law, we ensured that the role of the Senate is clear. It is by resolution. Let me be the first one to join Senator Sakaja and his team and say that I will not vote to allow a county that does not respect its citizens to be conferred into a city. Senator Sakaja has clearly told us, and I concur with him, that being conferred into a city status is not a matter of brick and mortar. I know a month ago, Mr. Speaker, there was a deal signed between the national government and the county government of Nakuru, where there was a lot of infrastructure development, a market, a bypass. If that's what this county government are going to perceive as being the only good, important thing instead of the citizens of that county, then they will not get my vote in terms of them being conferred as the city status. They can have all those buildings, they'll end up being just white elephant because the people will not respect that. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to finalize by saying I appreciate the work of Senator Sakaja and his team, and this makes me really feel good. And today, being a very special day for me, I feel great that at least we are talking about people and caring about those people who are less fortunate. I support the sentiments, Mr. Speaker.
Where's the point of order from? Senator Sakaja. Remember, this was just my discretion because you're not supposed to discuss it.
No,
So,
this one is off a bit. Mr. Speaker, yesterday you gave Senator Ledama permission, and happy birthday, my brother Ledama, to wear his cultural outfit that represents his county. Mr. Speaker, this morning I asked Nairobians what I should wear, and the suggestions I'm seeing on Facebook are scary. Mr. Speaker, I ask that you give us an opportunity to present our county attire, and you approve so that we can once a month come in our county. Because Nairobi, if you see what they're asking, Mr. Speaker, it's interesting.
Okay, Senator Mutula Jr., then I will close that.
Speaker, I want to be clear that I will not ask for permission to wear reeds and Maasai and Saiso things here. There's going to be chaos and pandemonium. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very sad story. And it's actually very sad that we actually got to know about this story when we were investigating Solida. Mr. Speaker, there is a county in this country that transported children, human beings, and left them in a forest at night. Yes. And the governor is still in office. The governor has not been impeached. Mr. Speaker, I cannot imagine something that is worse violation to the rights of those children than dumping them in a forest and leaving them to die. The right to human dignity under Article 28 is a fundamental right. The right of children under Article 53 is a fundamental right. In fact, Senator Sakaja and your team, you are extremely polite. This is not a matter for investigation. This is a matter of violation. And if the governor of Nakuru cannot apologize for the acts and omissions of his officers in order to get a conferment of a status, Mr. Speaker, that governor is incompetent, and we must say so, like we did in the case of Solida. Mr. Speaker, we listened to the narration of children. It used to be said that in one of the tribes in this country, in the olden days, when they wanted to bury their dead, they used to take them to the forest and leave them to be eaten by hyenas. I'm sure, senators, you've heard of that. It is very sad. So that you clean up your city and make it look good, you evacuate children. Unlike Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, who has made sure that the city is clean, physically by cleaning it. Whoever investigates this matter must find something that is near attempted murder or murder. Because this person wanted those children to be eaten by hyenas. 7 were eaten. Because they've never been found. What is a greater violation of international law? What is a greater violation of rights of people than these ones? And that person is still in office? I pity the people of Nakuru to have a government that can treat children like that. It is unfortunate. And we thank the committee, but we hope that the government can take action to ensure that these people, these children, when they grow up, Mr. Speaker, because it is Honorable Mutudo. Honorable Mutudo took these children as his own, gave them clothes, and gave them their life back. The government ought to find a way of making sure that these children do not live with the memory that somebody wanted them to be eaten by hyenas. It is so sad. And Mr. Speaker, I hope that this is not just one of the recommendations that we make. The Senate should have spoken much more. And I think as a Senate, and as a family that respects counties, Senator Sakaja, it would be nice if you can ask us to donate clothes, to donate food, so that other than making legal recommendations, we can go out there and make sure that these children feel as if they are Kenyans by loving them, showing them love. Because even if, Senator Sakaja, you charge all these people in Nakuru, the most important thing is these children need to be shown love. Thank you.
Senator Wako, I'm told you're trying to catch my attention and you're...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. The issue of children's rights is an issue that I have been engaged in for quite some time. But before I go further, I would want to congratulate the Committee on Labor, ably chaired by my grandson. My grandson, you know, it's my grandson. It is with Angula's name, but it's my grandson. Ably chaired by my grandson for the excellent report on this particular matter, and I support all the recommendations that have been given. I just want to take the opportunity to move it to the national level, because we are, in this particular report, concerned with the children of Nakuru, but we should also bear in mind that this is a problem that goes across the whole of Kenya. Honorable Wetangula has mentioned was in Gishu, and how, because they look like Bukusus, lawyers, they are taken to Alupe in Busia County, which is my county, and they are taken to the forest somewhere, Kitale, which is terrible. But this is a problem that faces the entire country. Children, Mr. Speaker, sir, children have at one time not been taken care of under our laws worldwide. And when I was special rapporteur of the UN Commission, and I took a number of trips to Latin America, and my mandate was to investigate the very many deaths that were occurring in those countries. But in particular, I remember one country where almost an average of 200 children were being killed every night. The army or the whatever would go around at night, round them up, take them some deep into the forest, and actually shoot them. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, sir, I can say I assisted, but I drafted the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of Children. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, sir, the children's rights are specifically recognized under our Constitution, that is Article 53 of our Constitution. So the matter of children is a matter that if any nation does not handle its children properly, then that nation is not civilized, and that nation has no future. And therefore, it behoves us to look after the rights of the children, and not just the county governments, but also the national government, and not just the county government and the national government, but also people. And here I commend John Mututho. You know, people who are philanthropic, who have the right, the feelings for the children, they should take action in their own respective ways to look after the children, even if you look after one or two. Imagine every senator looking after 5 children. That will mean 300 children are looked after in this country. And therefore, my plea is that the country should take the issue of the children's rights very seriously, and that the things that have occurred, which have been investigated and whose recommendations I support, should be condemned, but we should go now further than that and now proceed to ensure that our children in Kenya enjoy their rights as enshrined in the Constitution. In fact, the Constitution says, if I may say so in particular, that the children should not be detained. But in those very exceptional circumstances where they're detained, Mr. Speaker, sir, they should be held separate from adults and in conditions that take account of the child's sex and age. Here, We know they were taken to the forest and killed to the extent where 5 of them cannot even be accounted for. Most likely 7. Oh, there are 7 of them. Sorry. 7 of them are not even accounted for. And priority really should go to accounting for those 7 who are not accounted for, Mr. Speaker, sir. With those few remarks, I once again commend the committee for this report and commend that it should be, committee's recommendations should be implemented. And if possible, maybe after 6 months, we should be told how the government, how the county government of Nakuru and how the investigative arms of the government have implemented this report. Thank you.
Next petition by Senator Isaac Mwaura. Senator Murkomen.
Nowadays, since I want to be the speaker, in my new life, I now hold a brief for colleagues. Mr. Speaker, I have a petition to the Senate concerning challenges facing patients suffering from multiple sclerosis, which is called MS, and neuromyelitis. Mr. Speaker, neuromyelitis optica. Mr. Speaker, this petition is presented here by 3 petitioners. Marion Juma, Mr. Speaker, was my student at the Catholic University, and she's my friend. And Mr. Speaker, Jacqueline Mukiami, Lucia Ndolo, and Alexander Kula. This petition had been given to Senator Isaac Mwaura, who requested me to present on his behalf because he was held, Mr. Speaker, in Ruiru, performing other national duties. With the undersigned citizens of Kenya, and in particular multiple sclerosis, MS, and neuromyelitis optica, NMO, transplant survivors and families. Multiple sclerosis is a disease in which the immune system eats away at the protective covering of nerves, resulting nerve damage, disrupting communication between the brain and the body. Neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder, also known as Devic disease, is a chronic disorder of the brain and spinal cord, dominated by inflammation of the optic nerve, optic neuritis, and inflammation of the spinal cord, myelitis. Draw the attention of the Senate to the following: that multiple sclerosis, or simply MS, is a rare autoimmune disease that causes the body's own defenses to destroy neurons in the brain and spinal cord. That neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder, or simply NMO, also known as the Devic disease, is a chronic disorder of the brain and spinal cord dominated by inflammation of the optic nerve, optic neuritis, and inflammation of the spinal cord, myelitis. That both the NMO and MS are debilitating disease because they affect the nerves. When you suffer from MS or NMO, the body destroys myelin, the fatty insulating material that covers the nerve fibers that form part of the nervous system, which controls all body functions. That the myelinated nerves cannot transmit impulses to the brain or spinal cord and from the muscle in the body. Consequently, MS/NMO patients sometimes have difficulty with simple things like swallowing food, blinking, vague vision, controlling their bladder or limbs, or focusing their eyes on an object. Further, symptoms of MS depends on which part of the nervous system is targeted. Common problems may include fatigue, continence problems, sexual problems, constipation, pain, cognitive, thought-related changes, altered sensation, and muscular and visual changes. That a person with MS or NMO may struggle to come to terms with their disease. They might fear for their future or suffer from low self-esteem because of physical changes they are experiencing. Further, MS can target virtually any part of the nervous system. It can affect the nerves of the reproductive organs, which leads to changes in sexual functioning, slowed arousal time, reduced libido or desire, and altered orgasmic response are not uncommon experiences. That the growing burden of MS and NMO disease has been raised as one of the most significant barriers to the attainment of the universal health care. That in line with the Big Four agenda, universal health care, NHIF does not cover MS cases. Most patients end up as people living with disability. That we have made the best efforts to have these matters addressed by the relevant authorities, all of which have failed to give a satisfactory response. That none of these issues raised in this petition is pending in court of law, constitutional, or any other legal body. Therefore, your humble petitioners pray that the Senate investigate this matter and, 1, initiate the subsidy of the price of medicine to more affordable prices. A DMD disease-modifying drug or weekly injection can go to as high as 100,000 Kenya shillings. Mr. Speaker, that's weekly. 2, intervenes in the matter with a view to ensure that there are more unqualified specialists in all hospitals, especially district hospitals. MS and NMO resembles several other autoimmune diseases. A pinpoint diagnosis would help management of the disease before one gets to the progressive stage of the disease, which is rarely manageable. 3, initiate the recognition of this group as a group living with disability and therefore be exempted from taxation. Initiate free counseling and therapy services. Initiates the process of funds allocation to carry awareness campaigns that will involve the government and private sector to understand the different conditions of the disease and management of the patients affected. Intervenes for the group to obtain a proper cover to the affected group under the NHIF, like the cases of cancer patients who get free drugs and chemotherapy. Mr. Speaker, before I lay it, I want to say this personally. I know, as I told you, I know one of the patients who is a petitioner here, Marion, who was my student, Mr. Speaker.
Let's consult in law tones.
And she's an advocate. And by the time professionals like this have gone to as many institutions as possible to look for help for this autoimmune disease, Mr. Speaker, it means that how much more is the suffering of those who don't have access even to medicine or communication or institutions or ability even to write petitions like this. Mr. Speaker, you have heard for yourself the complexities and the difficulties they go through because of the same. And yet, Mr. Speaker, they are not being recognized when it comes to insurance cover. Mr. Speaker, you must have watched the United States elections. And Mr. Speaker, you must have seen the conversation of, and for the period of time I have followed US elections since 2004, was that 2004, Mr. Speaker, Kerry versus Bush. Mr. Speaker, the conversation has always been about healthcare, insurance cover, protection, Obamacare. All this, Mr. Speaker, has always been about protecting the most vulnerable in the society and making sure that they can get medical attention. You can see the patients, they are saying the medicine go up to 100,000 a week. Mr. Speaker, that is expensive, and very few families can be able to afford. And I think, Mr. Speaker, I am so glad that people in this country, and they have a right, they believe in this House. They have faith in the Senate. They brought this petition, Mr. Speaker, because they believe that through the relevant committee of this House and the intervention of this House, we are able to reach, Mr. Speaker, the institutions that have been unable to be responsive. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, that this petition will be considered, looked at thoroughly, and Mr. Speaker, we will find the necessary intervention to ensure that our counties and the national government play a key role in ensuring that these patients and many others in this country who suffer similar diseases are given proper medical attention and medical cover. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay this report and request my colleagues and this Senate to give it the highest consideration. Just the same way Senator Sakaja has done in his committee, the committee that will deal with this petition, I really will be very keen to know the kind of recommendations we have achieved. And I hope to be one of the people notified the day the committee will be meeting the relevant institutions, whether the ministry or the NHIF, among other institutions. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order number 231, I shall now allow comments, observations, or clarifications in relation to the petition for not more than 30 minutes. Senator Abshiro Soka.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am quite familiar with multiple sclerosis because I lost a very good friend and big sister of mine, Adilia Bashir, to multiple sclerosis a few years ago. And yes, the petitioners are right. The diseases are so not understood, and I'm sure even in this house, a lot of us must be grappling with what is that? And Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate that whenever something is affecting a minority group, maybe it's not a very widespread, then it's neglected. But every life matters, Mr. Speaker, and I'm glad that this issue has come to the fore right now, and I hope that the Health Committee will do it justice, such as just like the previous petition that Senator Sakaja has just presented, which I think, in my opinion, did a lot of justice to the children, and therefore we look forward to the actions thereof. Mr. Speaker, NHIF and other county government level 5 hospitals must make sure that there are people who can attend to nerve problems. Mr. Speaker, the only thing that you get when you go to our counties, everybody is diagnosed with malaria, or I don't know, there's some 3 things they say. You have a waterborne disease. What is it called? What is that? Yeah. There's some 3 things that give everybody is treated for the same. And therefore, people are dying in their droves, Mr. Speaker, and we need to make sure that we have enough, and universal health care, even my own county that was one of the pilot counties, and I don't want to go there because it looks like we may be accused of going back there all the time. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, the issue of multiple sclerosis and NMO are things that are affecting many Kenyans. It's very expensive. It's devastating families. They don't have any counseling. Nobody seems to understand it. And it's causing a lot of distress and a lot of financial drain. Mr. Speaker, by the time even anybody diagnoses it as multiple sclerosis, you have spent so much money, and in many cases, your loved ones have died. So I support this petition. I also look forward to participating alongside the Health Committee because, again, for me, it's personal. My friend, my big sister, Adilia Bashir, had this disease. She suffered, her family spent so much money, but eventually had, lost her still. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope that this House stands for the few people, and it's not even few now that it seems like it's something that is becoming very rampant in this country. I support and look forward to working alongside the Health Committee in bringing the attention, but also the support that this disease deserves. I support.
Senator Bogisho.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I just want to support this petition brought by people with this condition and people who care about other people, but also brought to this House through Senator Murkomen and Senator Mwaura. Mr. Speaker, these are 2 conditions. And I just want to thank these people who identified these very rare conditions, Mr. Speaker. These conditions are not so many. And the problem with our medical system, Speaker, is that we kind of live in silos and treat people in silos. So that if you are dealing with a medical condition which is very rare, where you have to order maybe drugs in smaller quantities, you'll find that nobody takes interest in those because it's not good enough for business. And that's our problem, Speaker. And I think, Mr. Speaker, we need to look at health holistically so that conditions like this, and you'll find many people don't even know they have this condition because there is no specialist who can tell them they have this condition. And so we need to start thinking in terms of helping. If some people have come together and told us that they have this condition, it's about time we made it possible for others with similar symptoms. Let's talk about this condition so that people with similar symptoms can come forward and be able then to get treatment. Mr. Speaker, the condition, the multiple sclerosis condition, and that's the one that has actually been more common that I have known about, and I know people who have suffered from this condition. It's a very debilitating condition. It's actually, Mr. Speaker, likely to cause permanent conditions. And even, Speaker, people become almost conditionally disabled completely. You've heard about the symptoms. They may not even have children. They might not have this situation. They may have, everything can happen to them because there is no coordination between the brain and parts of the body. Mr. Speaker, this condition is where your own immune system, if you're strong, if your immune system is strong, the system turns on you, on your nerves, turns on the sheath of the nerve and begins to eat. And then, Mr. Speaker, once the nerve endings have been eaten, then you cannot coordinate. You cannot be coordinated. And that is really the real issue of this condition. And if you cannot coordinate, you start having sensations, prickings, things like needles pricking you all over. You can't be comfortable. And Mr. Speaker, these are Kenyans who must now be assisted. I know very little about the other neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder, but it must also have the same problem because it is a chronic disorder of the brain and the spinal cord, almost the same condition, dominated by inflammation of the optic nerve. Mr. Speaker, what this means in this petition, that the committee that's going to look at this petition, please, let's get to the bottom of rare conditions that our people suffer from and see how we can facilitate the treatments. People have to go overseas to get this treatment. People have to have specialized doctors to have from outside to get treatment, and yet we can do it right here in Kenya. So I do hope, I support that we move forward instead of just thinking about the things, the common areas that we know. Let us focus at least on these two and then find out also other conditions that our people have. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the senators who brought this and also the people who stepped forward, the citizens, the 3 citizens who stepped forward. I do support. Thank you.
Senator Abdullahi Ibrahim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease, and it's one of the very rare diseases in this country, and there are not many doctors who are even specialists in this. There are very few. So when these issues are found in the rural areas or in the counties, people are not even able to diagnose them. So most of the time, by the time it reaches to where you can get a proper diagnosis, then it might even be too late. It usually starts with blood vision, as Senator Pogisho said, tinkling, and many other issues which normally are misdiagnosed, and it's not very easy. In this country, I think the people who specialize in these autoimmune diseases are very few, and it's a very specialized, usually set of the medical field. Mr. Speaker, it will be nice to have at least a doctor who deals with these issues at every county level, but it's not that easy. So when it comes to also NHIF and how it is treated, most doctors might not even know what they're dealing with. So by the time it's referred and referred and referred, it might even be too late. So hopefully when it comes to the committee and it's referred to the health committee, we will do what we can as a committee and do our best. And hopefully we will be able to help these individuals in the long term. Thank you.
Senator Musuruve.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak on this unique form of disability, that is multiple sclerosis. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say that it is unfortunate that many people suffer through multiple sclerosis, but they have no way of being helped, in the fraternity of disability. It is unfortunate, Honorable Speaker, that anyone at any age can catch this disease, which eventually leads to disability. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, there is also need for the government to raise awareness on this issue. This petition should be handled so that people with multiple sclerosis are actually a category of persons with disabilities. This is because as the disease progresses, you'll find that people suffering from multiple sclerosis have low vision, have issues with their bowels, have issues with their bladders, and sometimes you also find, the tingling in the thumbs and fingers. And I have to say, Honorable Speaker, they end up not having the rights as persons, any other person. So there's need to ensure, Honorable Speaker, that the committee that is going to deal with this issue also pursue with the National Council and also the medical assessment doctors who actually examine people with disabilities. Because sometimes, Honorable Speaker, as a person with a disability, even when you go for assessment and the disability is so visible, they'll want you to prove that you really are genuinely disabled. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, even when I lost part of my pelvis, as a result of cancer, even when I lost part of my femur bone as a result of cancer, and I wanted to be assessed so that I become someone with a disability, it was so visible, but I was also being told, can you prove that it really happened? Until I had to come, with my scans from India to show them, this is what I lost. I lost my pelvis, part of it. I lost my femur bone, and so I have a hemipelvic prosthesis. So I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that this category of persons with disabilities will not have it easy, even to be given the disability card, even for them to really prove that they are people with disabilities. So there's need also for us to come up with laws that actually speak on this, because it is not fun having a disability. The fact that you have a disability, you already have a psychological, the psychological impact of disability. So there's need for this category of people to be helped. And I have to tell you, Honorable Speaker, when it comes to issues of disability, it is a nightmare. Because when it comes to treatment, sometimes you find when persons with disabilities go to hospital, actually they do not have the finances. Economically, they are not empowered. And you find that services for persons with disability are not free. You have to pay. And I also want to say on the floor of this house as a cancer survivor, that when it comes to cycles for cancer survivors, they don't get them free in hospital. I have so many phone calls from cancer survivors asking me to give them some money for nutrition, to buy fruits, to buy medicine, and all that. So reality on the ground, when we see the vulnerables in our society, can we empathize with their situation? When we see multiple sclerosis persons, can we empathize with their situation and know that this is not a disease that is inherited? It is a disease anyone at any one time can catch. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I want to believe that when it goes to the Health Committee will do this petition service and ensure that these persons are a category of people with disabilities. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, finally on that, Senator Shionga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to contribute on this petition. Mr. Speaker, I would like to start by thanking the 3 citizens who brought these petitions, especially on this disease that we are talking about, the multiple sclerosis or MS condition. Mr. Speaker, this condition is next to death. And if you look at the people who survive, then they survive in a lot of pain in their life or throughout their life. The disorder that affects the brain and the spine then affects the whole body. It leaves you next to impossible to do anything. And I would really prefer such conditions in Kenya to be treated with a lot of care if discovered. Most of such people, when they get into such a condition, then they lose hope very fast, and their lifespan then decreases because they have lost hope. Mr. Speaker, I came here with a motion last year on sickle cell, where people are really spending a lot of money to treat sickle cell condition in pockets of areas in our communities. And many of them are misdiagnosed before even the disease is discovered. Mr. Speaker, it is very unfortunate that our hospitals, especially when healthcare has been devolved, that our counties are not able even to handle the conditions, some of the conditions like these ones. And it is very clear that if we have such a people, or if we have such a patients in our communities, and they are discovered or not discovered, they be given free care, especially when it comes to treatment. This issue of NHIF cards or insurance, when it comes to such a condition, does not help at all. You find out that many of the hospitals are returning or are refusing these patients because they cannot hold. Because the expense that comes with these conditions, it is very high and it's unwarranted. Mr. Speaker, such a condition then needs to be categorized under the condition that can be always be taken care of and not to be charged even a single shilling, because we need to be one care or one skipper. And there are so many who suffer these conditions and they're not coming up. I urge Kenyans, if we have any of these particular of the people living with such a condition, and even those of sickle cell, to come up so that we can really see how the law can come and assist, or we can get a law that can assist through the health system that we are having. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support the petition.
Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 2321, the petition should be committed to the relevant standing committee for consideration. In this case, I directed the petition be committed to the Standing Committee on Health, and I'm aware that a similar petition came last year, related in September. So the Committee on Health should do something about it, because you can see it keeps coming. Please work around it so that the petitioners can be able to get their rights. In terms of Standing Order 232, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading the prayer to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Chair, Agriculture, is it? Vice Chair? Okay.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, Wednesday, 11th November 2020. A report of the Senate Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries on the consideration of the mung beans bill, Senate Bills number 9 of 2020.
Okay, next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, statements.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 47-1 to make a statement on an issue of general topical concern, namely the passing on of Honorable Charlie Mwendwa, the pioneer African Director of Education in Kenya, former Member of Parliament for Kitui West, the former Cabinet Minister in the Ministries of Livestock and Water. The Speaker, I wish to start by conveying my condolences to the family of the late Honorable Charlie Mwendwa, who passed away on 3rd November 2020 at the age of 94. To his wife, Jacinta, his children, Mumo, Vonza, Suki, Zambu, Munyoki, and Mukeli, I convey my condolences. Honorable Chale Mwendwa, who came from Kitui County, was one of Kenya's pioneer educationists, and he served as the first indigenous Kenya director of education in independent Kenya. His demise comes soon after Kitui County lost one of his sons and top legal scholar, the late Philip Zamba Kitonga, Senior Counsel. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Mwendwa, during his tenure when he served as Director of Education, oversaw the establishment of a number of public primary and secondary schools, as well as colleges across this country. His contribution to the education sector will be remembered for many years to come. The Speaker, sir, the late Honorable Mwendwa also served as a member of Parliament for Kitui West between 1985 and 1988, following the death through a road accident of his brother, the late Kitili Mwendwa. The Speaker, the late Honorable Mwendwa was among the key figures who founded the Democratic Party alongside former President Mwai Kibaki when multi-party democracy was introduced in the country in 1991. He quit elective politics in 1992 to focus on other interests, including his passion, which is the development of education sector in the country. And upon leaving elective politics, the late Honorable Mwendwa successively established Riverside Junior Academy, St. Austin's Academy, and the Coast Academy. Speaker, sir, the late Honorable Chale Mwendwa comes from a family of many firsts. His older brother, Gala Mwendwa, was Kenya's first Minister for Labor. His other brother, Gitili Mwendwa, was Kenya's first African Chief Justice. His sister-in-law, Honorable Nyiva Mwendwa, was the first female cabinet minister in Kenya. The Speaker, sir, the late Honorable Chale Mwendwa, a son of the late Kitui Paramount Chief Mwendwa Kitavi, will be laid to rest on Friday this week in his home in Matinyani of Kitui West constituency. May the soul of the late Honorable Chale Mwendwa rest in eternal peace. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Honorable. Order, Senators. Order. We've heard that message from the Senator Kitui, and given that this was our colleague in Parliament, before I allow comments, I will request that we stand for 1 minute silence in his honor. Thank you. Senator Sakaja Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the people of Nairobi City County, where, of course, the late lived together with his family and breathed his last at Aga Khan Hospital, Nairobi, on behalf of the people of Nairobi, I want to convey my condolences to the family of the late Honorable Mwendwa, the people of Kitui County, and the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, this is the last surviving member of, I think, LEGCO, or the first, parliament. And Mr. Speaker, I must say, in 2012, when my party then was newly formed, TNA, then I was a chairman, I was a young person, we had a by-election. There were a number of by-elections across the country. There were the constituencies of Kangema, Kajiado, where Honorable Sakuda came in, and Ndhiwa, but also there were some wards, and one of the wards was Matinyani ward. Mr. Speaker, I led a campaign in Matinyani, and my candidate then called Kali came in a very strong second after the Wiper candidate. But the people of Matinyani welcomed us very well, including the family. And Mr. Speaker, a strong second was very strong.
Senator Sakaja, there's no strong second. You are just second.
No,
there's a winner and a loser.
Because, Mr. Speaker, that time my party was the new kid on the block, TNA. And to date, I've maintained a lot of links in Matinyani, where the Mwendwas are from. And their family were very hospitable to us. I remember we stayed there for a number of days, and they were shocked what we were looking for there. Mr. Speaker, it's in times like this when we see such great men who were indeed our founding fathers, so to speak. When they pass on, we reflect as a country, especially for the young legislators. What mark indeed are we leaving? What will you be remembered for? Will you be remembered for just wearing our Maasai attire, or for standing for the rights of the Maasai? Will you be remembered for a fight on a formula, or for standing for equity? What is it that Kenyans will remember this generation? And Mr. Speaker, I am touched to remember the words of Jomo Kenyatta, that in as much as our fathers, Mr. Speaker, might have been heroes of the past, our work is to be architects of the future. I want to implore upon all of us in this house. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, you made a historic ruling. You will be remembered for many things, but let us remember that history is made every day. Every day we come to this house, every day we speak out there, everything we do, history is made every day. There is no event called history making. And let us always have that foresight. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge, or rather I want to pray to God to give this family strength and fortitude. Mzee lived his years at 94. 94 is no mean feat, but that his legacy must live on, and that for the rest of us, let us remember that we indeed have a role to play, especially during this time when we're assessing this country, we're looking at BBI, we're looking at changes that we want to make. Let us make them with posterity in mind. Let us not look at provisions based on today's politics. Let us not look at provisions based on 2022, but let's think of 50 years, 100 years, 150 years, the posterity of this country in mind when we make some of these changes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May his soul rest in peace.
Senator Moses Wetangula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I join the distinguished senator for Kitui and the House in sending my message of condolences to the family, friends of the late Charles Mwendwa, who served as a member of parliament, a cabinet minister, and before that was a very well-known educationist in this country. Madam Speaker, I noticed that in the obituaries, the funeral will be a private family affair, so this is the only opportunity we can be able to send our very heartfelt condolences. I recall when his late brother, Ngala Mwendwa, passed on, we went to Kitui and gave him a hero's send-off. Indeed, as Senator Wambua says, Charles Mwendwa comes from a family of great distinction, having had first African Chief Justice, the late Ngala Mwendwa, who was a minister, Charles himself a minister. There are Niva Mwendwa, whom I had the distinction with Senator Bogisho to be in the 7th Parliament with. It's a family that has made tremendous contribution to the development of the politics and socioeconomic activities of this country. So as we mourn his passing on, actually at the age of 94, we celebrate his life because to live up to that age is a great, great act of God's providence and a personal achievement. And I want to remind my distinguished nephew, the Senator for Nairobi, that Mzee Nathan Waliaola Munoko, a member of the Legico and a former member of my constituency, then called Bungoma Central, is still living. So Charlie Mwenda was not the last, and I think there are a few. There's one other in Meru, and one or two others that we know of. So let's all join hands with Senator Wambua to mourn the great son of his county and this country, and may his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Pokisho Samuel.
Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to also send my condolences and that of the people of West Pokot to this great son of Kenya. Speaker, Charlie Mwendwa served in the Legico. These are people that in the generation that the younger people here, including the Senator for Nairobi, might not actually appreciate those times. I had the privilege of knowing some of these people when they still had strength. And I know that Charlie Mwenda ended his political career at the time when I was entering this parliament. And Madam Speaker, he is a great record, a great educationist, member of the Legico, and I think the Legico sat here in this place, this particular chamber. Yes, so this was there where they sat, and they were and he was part of the first 15-member cabinet of Kenya. And so that's really somebody who has achieved a lot. And so we need to use this opportunity to send to the people of Kitui our condolences and to tell them that we appreciate you giving us that great family, but also this particular person. Madam Speaker, one of the problems we have in our countries is that we don't celebrate the people who have given us great achievements. There is no single thing that we can remember that in the future we can say this was the first director of education, this was the first and fast. In other places, they would have a monument or a statue or something that represents that forever, for many, many years. And we need to start thinking about how do we remember this kind of people. And I think that this House can lead in that direction, Madam Speaker. We consider there are many, many, many of the people that we should. So with those few remarks, I just want to join my colleague, the Senator for Kitui, and the senators from that whole region of Ukambani, because at that time, these divisions were not there. You know, he was a great man from Ukambani. That's what it was. So we must say that he has lived a good life, and this is a celebration of his life. We need to have memories of this kind somewhere, inscribed somewhere, so that we do not lose the history that is created by knowing this honorable member who has passed on. May God rest his soul in eternal peace.
Thank you, Senator. Now that his colleagues have spoken, can we take 2 minutes? Senator Onyamuga has disappeared. Senator Mohammed? I'll give 2 minutes each for anybody else.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah.
I was not a colleague of the late Charlie Mwendwa, but my CP certificate was signed by him as the Director of Education. fact, we were the first class of CPE because the class before us did KPE. So Director of Education was then, so I remember his name very well. Let me join my colleague from Kitui and the people of Kitui in condoling this great son of Kenya who has really contributed to this country immensely. As an educationist, a member of parliamentarian, a cabinet minister, and in fact, at a time when very few Kenyans were able to take that job, he was able to become a director of education. In fact, that was more than even being a politician. Being a director, being a professional was, for me, something very important to remember. So let me take the opportunity on behalf of the people of Mandera to condole with the people of Kitui and the family and ask them to have courage during this trying moment. And especially from the family of the late Mwendwas, because when you were young, Minister for Labor, Ngala Mwendwa. In fact, when Minister Niba Mwendwa became the only minister for women minister in Kenya, I was then a civil servant, and in fact, we really took pride in her becoming. In fact, she led the delegation to Beijing, and my wife was in that delegation, and we were very proud that there was a minister, a lady minister for the first time. And I happened to have visited our home in Kitui with my able minister and Vice President Mudi Awori when I was a PS under him. May God rest his soul in eternal peace. Condolences. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I was also in the delegation, led by Nyiva Mwenda. 2 minutes to Senator Halaga Bishiro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to join my colleague, Senator Wambua, and giving my heartfelt condolences to the late Honorable Charlie Mwendwa. I already passed my condolences during the committee meeting this morning. Because the Honorable Charlie Mwendwa is known to me personally. He's been a neighbor on Riverside. The office park where I'm sure a lot of you go to, it belongs to him, and Ports and well, the office park and Ports and Palms, and, yeah. So I think in my early years I used to be his tenant. I used to have an office up there, and he would always come and walk there, up and down, and I would have a small chat with him. May the good Lord, rest his soul in eternal peace. But having said that, we celebrate his life. Of course, the death of a loved one is most painful for the family. But having said that, Honorable Charlie Mwendwa was like a father to all of us. He was a member of parliament, a minister, and we celebrate his achievements, and we celebrate the fact that he's left behind St. Austin's and other academic institutions that are still serving our children. So may his soul rest in eternal peace, and as we Muslims say, from God we came, and to him we must all return. But we are very proud of the footprint he has left in this country. Thank you very much. God rest him in peace.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Milko Alice Chepkorir, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to condone the great minister and political leader from Kitui County. I want to say, Madam Speaker, that was a great mender because of the fact that in the early 70s, the Mwendwas were a household name. Not because of the fact that they were just simply workers, but because they did an excellent job. I want to condole with this great leader who started colleges and schools right across the country. And even after he went to rest, when he retired from politics, he went ahead to begin schools in order to contribute skills as well as experience, expertise, which he knew that this will go a long way to actually spur the economy in our country. Indeed, the Mwendwa, as a politician, must have been a great leader because he meant that even the members of his own family, and that is why from that family we were able to get the first lady minister in the name of Nyiva Mwendwa, and we are grateful that that was our first trailblazer to the women fraternity. Madam Speaker, Indeed, that is a challenge, as my chair in Labour said, as leaders, what are we going to leave when it comes to our time? That is what type of legacy shall we leave in terms of what we are doing right now, so that where people can stand up to count the issues that you are able to contribute to the society. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to really say that was a great leader, and may his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you, Senator Kilonzo Mutula Jr. Senator Kilonzo Mutula, I'll give you 3 minutes because of good neighborhood. So I almost took it because of noise from that corner.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. In fact, in my case, I was the lawyer of the trustees of Ukamba Agricultural Institute. Charlie Mwenda was trustee number 1, and this good gentleman walked into my office in 2009. Madam Speaker, I don't know whether you managed to go to Southeastern Kenya University when you were in Kitui.
I started it.
Oh, you started it. Now, that is even better, because Charlie Mwendwa, Titus Mbadi, David Moka Mutiso, David Mumo, and Archbishop Ndingi Mwana Wanzeki are the trustees of that land that is 10,000 acres that has created Sauko in Kitui. And when the president, Mwai Kibaki, gave this university to the Ukamba region, some very delinquent men filed a case against Ukamba Agricultural Institute, and I was instructed by Charlie Mwendwa, Titus Mbadi, Ndingi Mwana Wanzeki, and others. What I want to say is, on behalf of my family, I wish to pass my condolences to this good gentleman and the people of Kitui. Madam Speaker, the eulogy, when the eulogy was read, I began to think that Senator Wetangula and Senator Fogisha and yourself, the people who have dealt with people like Charlie Mwenda, Titus Mbadi, must find a way where we can tell the history of this gentleman when they are still alive. This gentleman went to school with Mugabe. This gentleman went to school with Buthelezi in South Africa. They have got such a rich history about the world that, Madam Speaker, unless we tell the story, and one of the most interesting thing about him is that when he was in school, he managed to change because then they were singing the national anthem to the Queen. He forced the school to change the anthem. It says to their Queen, not to our Queen. Charlie Mwendwa. I mean, that's bold. But the story of people, Madam Speaker, should not be told when they are dead. It's unfortunate. You know this gentleman called Kalulu from Mboni. I sat with him. He had a good history. You came to Mboni. You saw the forests. He had a story about how those forests were created by the Europeans. People were removed at gunpoint so that those forests could be created. Can we find a method, Majority Leader, where we honor these people for the work they did, but we tell the story when they are alive? 3 generations from now, the children of your children won't know who Charlie Mwendwa was and what it meant for a person to say, we will not pledge allegiance to the Queen. They will not understand. So can we find a method of telling stories about these people? Because it's unfortunate for a story like the one I have read today in his eulogy to be in his eulogy. It should be in a book, in a school, where people should be reading. When I visited, Madam Speaker, the Robben Island, I found a former prisoner telling us the story about that prison. The story of Kenya should be told by the people who fought for Kenya. And it's unfortunate that we have to read the story of these good people when they are long dead. It's unfortunate, but since God has done what he does best, and since he loved him more, may he rest in peace. But can we find another method of doing this when people are alive? I'm sure where he was, he knows that we didn't appreciate him. We didn't. And I think we should appreciate. But even then, I think, just like in Europe, Madam Speaker, we should either give them a card to be accessing groceries, or we give them a card to be accessing medical care for free parking. You know, when they get into a place, you don't need to hassle them. This Chale Mwendo should have walked into Aga Khan without paying a bill, Madam Speaker. Airports, first class access. These are our heroes. Let's not celebrate people when they die. It's not right. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Senators, for passing those good words of comfort to the family. I join all of you in sending our condolences to the family of Kiale Mwendwa. A man whose story I heard when I was Minister for Education when we went to inspect the Southeastern University. May his soul rest in peace. And over and above that, I just wanted to mention that there is a motion that is being sponsored by Senator Rose Nyamunga, recognizing and appreciating elderly people. I think this is the opportunity for us to really craft in and bring in recognitions, because we seem to be very low in appreciating our people. Thank you very much. Next order. Okay, we are finished 47-1 statement, but we have the majority leader's statement. Please come forward and proceed. Give us your statement.
Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 52-1, I hereby present to the Senate the business of the House for the week commencing Tuesday, 17th November 2020. Madam Speaker, on Tuesday, 17th November 2020, the Senate Business Committee will meet to schedule the business of the Senate. On that day, the Senate, pursuant to Standing Order 24, 5, and 6 of the Senate, will debate on the motion on the address by His Excellency the President, which will be delivered tomorrow, Thursday, 12th November 2020, at a special sitting of the Houses of Parliament. Madam Speaker, honorable senators will note that in today's order paper, debate on the motion to alter the Senate calendar to allow the Senate to hold one sitting per week will resume today. If this motion passes, honorable senators will be advised on the business of the Senate accordingly. However, if the motion does not pass on Wednesday, 18th November 2020 and Thursday, 19th November 2020, the Senate will continue with business that will not be concluded on Tuesday, 17th, and will also consider the bills for which, following the judgment of the High Court in the constitutional petition number 284 of 2019, the resolution process contemplated under Article 110(3) of the Constitution was completed by both Speakers of Parliament and any other business scheduled by the Senate Business Committee. Madam Speaker, with respect to bills, honorable senators will be aware that the judgment by the High Court in the constitutional petition number 284 of 2019 has had far-reaching implications on the business of the Senate. I continue to urge for patience and understanding as the office of the Speaker and that of the Senate leadership engages our counterparts in the National Assembly to fast-track the process of regularizing, including republishing bills to conform with Article 110(3) of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, there are 58 petitions pending consideration by respective standing committees. I urge the committees to use the available opportunity to expeditiously consider the said petitions and table reports pursuant to the standing orders.
Honorable senators, please console in low tones.
Madam Speaker, I thank you and hereby lay the statement on the table of the House. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We now move to statements under Standing Order 48-1. And because our program is very busy today, honorable senators, I want to seek your indulgence in what to limit. We limit the numbers and we limit the time. Okay, we are going to limit the time to 3 minutes for every member contributing after the member has read the statement. and I'll give one from each side. The first one from each side, so that we have 2 contributors, and that should move us as fast as possible to the next business of the House. Senator Petronila Were Locorio. Senator Petronila, we skip that. Senator Mercy Chebeni.
Thank you, members.
I know her statement seems to be exciting everybody, but can we? Now she can talk. Okay, go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the review of accredited academic programs and courses by the Commission for University Education. In the statement, the committee should, 1, table the list of both accredited and unaccredited academic programs and courses being offered by institutions of higher learning in Kenya. 2, report on the progress made by the Commission for University Education in reviewing and updating the tabled lists. 3, state the measures contemplated by the government to address the anxiety among university students over the lack of accreditation of the courses and programs that they are currently undertaking. And lastly, Madam Speaker, to provide information on the progress made by the Kenya National Qualifications Authority towards harmonizing the various levels of education and creation of a database of all qualifications in the country. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Enima Ketut Musuruve, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to support Senator Chebeni on this statement. She has brought a statement that is really valuable at this point in time. And Honorable Speaker, when it comes to accreditation at higher levels of learning, colleges and universities, it is important that colleges and universities are accredited so that they safeguard, the learners, the interests of the learners, the interests of the employers. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, accreditation is important because it ensures that universities, colleges, higher levels of learning are offering courses that are acknowledged nationally and that are also acknowledged by international standards. And it also ensures that even those who are training, the trainers, have the right qualifications, Honorable Speaker. It can be a sad affair if a student takes very many years in college or university.
Honorable Senators, please console in low tones and take your seats, Senator Gerard Gay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the protection you have given me. It is unfortunate, Honorable Speaker, and it would be a painful thing for the students to go through a course, maybe take 4 years, 5 years, only to realize that the course they are taking has not been accredited, Honorable Speaker. It can be a waste of resources, a waste of energy, and also demoralizing, Honorable Speaker. So I want to the student, I want to say, Honorable Speaker, accreditation is important because it ensures that the qualifications are desired for a certain course are actually given, Honorable Speaker. And this accreditation should be done intellectually, Honorable Speaker. Like, for instance, if a course offered in a university is supposed to be medical, it's supposed to be veterinary, let it have the desired qualifications, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, there's a time also a course in range management was sort of qualified to, the game rangers were actually qualified to do what veterinary doctors do. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the qualifications that are desired for this particular course, they should be courses, there should be qualifications that merit, Honorable Speaker. We need to ensure that universities are accredited for the purpose of ensuring also that the courses are market-driven, and apart from being market-driven, Honorable Speaker, there's need for a review, so that even the things we desire in our children from an early age to secondary all the way to university are
enshrined in the causes, Honorable Speaker. Like, for example, we are talking about the elderly. And I want to thank Senator Nyamuga for coming up with that. When we want our children to really have it in their mind and inculcate that issue of national ethos, it has to start even from universities and colleges. There's need to have even a unit that speaks on it from first year, and it should be a prerequisite unit, so that even when students are going through the course, by the time they exit from university and to the world of work, they'll be having the ethos that we want as a nation, Honorable Speaker. So I support this statement, and I hope that when it goes to the right committee, which I hope is education where I see it, we will do a lot of justice to this, this statement that is actually seeking.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Gerargay Samson Gibrotich.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I want to congratulate Senator Chebeni for this statement. I think I want just to say two things, Madam Speaker. That I want to request that as a country and reforms in education, that we should be accrediting courses, Madam Speaker, that are up to date as what is happening. Because when you accredit some of the courses that are not relevant with the economic situation, changes in society, culture, and values, Madam Speaker, I think it is very important that the Council of University Education, Commission of University Education, or Q, must come up with an innovative way. Especially, we should now be insisting on ICT. We should be insisting on giving enterprise and life skills, so that even when you train, Madam Speaker, there are people who are trained in some courses, but they can't even fix a bulb. We need to be able, Madam Speaker, to have people who, when you say this is an electrical engineer, they can even fix a bulb. You have engineers who have degrees, and I'm not being blasphemous, but I'm just saying they can't even fix a bulb. Madam Speaker, secondly, and finally, is that the Ministry of Education is suffering leadership crisis. You can see the chaos in which the Ministry of Education is. You can even see the CS Makoa the other day was insulting some of your senior education officials in Uasin Gishu County. There is a lot of leadership crisis, and it is so sad when such issues are coming. We have a vacuum and leadership crisis within the education sector in this country, and I want to call upon the President to relook at the running of education sector, because this education sector is very critical in terms of ensuring, Madam Speaker, that we give opportunity to many young people. Madam Speaker, finally, even as we discuss, we must look at the future of the many young people that we have in this country. When you look at 2019 census, we have a quite youthful population. But most of them cannot just get blue or white-collar jobs, Madam Speaker. We must see on our way to tap, as we talk, Madam Speaker, close to 15 million young people, either uneducated, semi-educated, or completely did not go to school. How do we factor in when we are coming up with such programs that will benefit the young people, Madam Speaker? And therefore, I hope the education sector, which is suffering from leadership crisis, will be able to be reformed in a way that it can look into the demands-driven courses that are being approved within the education sector, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you. The next statement is from the Senator of Trans Nzoia, Senator Dr. Michael Mbito. Michael Mbito, not here. The next statement is by Senator Petrolina Were Locorio. She is not here. The next one is by the Senator for Lamu, Senator Anwar Loitiptip. He is not here. Honorable Senators, we now move to statements pursuant to Standing Order 51, 1B from the chairpersons of committees. I would like to start with the chairperson of CHAILAC. Chairperson of CHAILAC. Senator Omogeni.
Yes,
Okay. While you are preparing yourself, let's go to the chairperson, Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations. National Security, Vice Chair. Yes, Vice Chair. Senator Pareno.
Madam Speaker, I had earlier on approached the clerk's desk to request whether this statement was there. And they say it's not there. But I had been given a brief by the chair to
And
be
you
able
were
to
going
read
to
it
read
out. So if you can give me some time, I'll check with them
Okay,
again.
I'll give you time. Let's go to the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Roads and Transportation. Chairperson of Roads and Transportation. Vice Chair. Okay, the next one is the chairperson of the Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation. Delegated Legislation, Senator Faki.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand pursuant to Standing Order number 51-1B of the Senate Standing Orders. Honorable Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 51-1B of the Senate Standing Orders to make a statement relating to the activities of the Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation from 6 May 2020 to 4th of November 2020. Honorable Speaker, the Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation is established under Standing Order number 221 of the Senate Standing Order. The committee is mandated to scrutinize statutory instruments laid before the House to ensure that they are consistent with the provisions of the Statutory Instruments Act number 2013. During the review period, the committee held 64 meetings, during which we considered 25 draft and published statutory instruments, including regulations, orders, and rules as follows. A, regulations. Honorable Speaker, the committee has acceded to the following regulations. 1, Public Procurement Regulations 2020. The regulation was tabled on 5th of May 2020. The committee acceded to the regulation on 4th of July 2020, and the decisions transmitted to the National Treasury and Planning. The approval was reported to the House on the 7th of July via a statement. Number 2, SACCO Societies and Deposit Taking Business Regulations 2020. The regulation was tabled on the 19th of May 2020. The committee acceded to the regulation on 30th of September 2020. And the decisions transmitted to the Ministry of Livestock, Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries and Cooperatives. Number 3, Railway City Development Authority Order 2020. The committee acceded to the regulations on 29th of October 2020. The decision was transmitted to the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban and Public Works. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the Crops Tea Industry Regulations 2020 and the Crops Sugar General Regulations 2020 jointly with the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. Out of 64 meetings held, the committee held 22 meetings with the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries to consider the two regulations. After careful consideration of submissions from stakeholders and the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives on 4th of November 2020, the committee acceded to the Crops Sugar General Regulations 2020. However, the committee did not accede to the Crops Tea Regulations 2020. The committee will be seeking a resolution of the Senate to annul the Crops Tea Industry Regulations 2020. Some of the provisions that were not in the interest of counties. The regulation should clearly provide for the role of counties, noting that agriculture is a devolved function. I wish to thank the chairperson of the Standing members of the committee for their valuable input in the considerations of the two regulations. Honorable Speaker, other regulations to operationalize the Crops Act are in different stages of considerations as follows. 1, the Horticultural Crops Regulations 2020. The regulations were tabled on the 4th of August 2020. The committee considered the regulations on 19th of September and wrote to the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries and Cooperatives raising various issues. The committee is awaiting response on the regulations. Number 2, crops, sugar imports, exports, and byproducts regulations 2020. The regulation was tabled on 21st of July. The committee considered the regulation on 5th of November and is scheduled to meet stakeholders on 11th of November 2020. The committee has scheduled the crops, fiber crops regulations 2020 and the crops, nuts and oils regulations 2020 for consideration. These regulations affect counties because agriculture is a devolved function. The committee is keen to ensure that the devolved functions are not usurped by the national government. Orders. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered 15 orders related to COVID-19 restrictions and measures put in place to curb the spread of the pandemic. One of the challenges faced by the committee is that orders are transmitted to the Senate when they have already lapsed or are only a few days left before they lapse. The committee resolved not to scrutinize a number of instruments as this has been an exercise, this will be an exercise in futility. These concerns were raised with the Ministry of Health on the 9th of September on the delays in transmitting the statutory instrument and further raised issues on the lack of public participation of the orders. The committee noted that the Ministry had endeavored to ensure faster processing of the regulations with the Office of the Attorney General. The committee therefore only acceded to the public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Dadaab Refugee Complex, Kakuma Refugee Complex, Order number 2020, and raised further concerns with the Ministry of Health on the public health COVID-19 general public safety rules 2020, which does not have stipulated timeline. The following is a list of the COVID-19 related orders referred to the committee. Number 1, public health. Number 1, public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Nairobi Metropolitan Extension Order. Number 2, the public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Mombasa County Extension Order. Number 3, public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related orders, Kilifi County Extension Order. Number 4, public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Kwale County Extension Order. Number 5, public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Mandera County Order. Number 6, public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Dadaab Refugee Complex and Kakuma Refugee Camp Order. Number 7, public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Mombasa Old Town Order 2020. Number 8, public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Isli Area Order 2020. Number 9, the public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Mandera County Extension Order 2020. Number 10, the public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Nairobi Metropolitan Extension Order number 2 of 2020. Number 11, public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Nairobi Metropolitan Extension Order number 3 of 2020. Number 12, the public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Mandera County Extension Order number 3 of 2020. Number 13, the public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Mombasa Old Town Order 2020, number 3 of 2020. Number 14, the public health COVID-19 restriction of movement of persons and related measures, Dadaab Refugee Complex and Kakuma Refugee Camp Order number 2 of 2020. And finally, the public health COVID-19 general public safety rules 2020. The committee is scheduled to meet the Cabinet Secretary for Health to give further reasons why the ministry had not submitted COVID-19 regulations to the Senate. Number C, rules. With regard to rules, the committee acceded to the traffic driving schools, driving instructors and driving licenses rules 2020. The rules were tabled on the 19th of May 2020. The committee acceded to the regulations of 15th of June 2020. And the decision was transmitted to the Minister of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works, and the Minister of Interior and Coordination of National Government. The approval was reported to the House on the 7th of July via statement. D, draft rules. The committee considered the draft digital hailing service rules 2020 pursuant to a request from the stakeholder, Bolt Kenya Limited, and raised various issues the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA regarding the rules. The NTSA indicated that it is still conducting public participation and stakeholder consultation on the rules, and they will table the rules to the Senate for considerations once they are published. Pending business. The following statutory instruments are pending before the committee and are scheduled for consideration. Number one, crops, fiber crops regulations 2020, tabled on the 4th of August 2020, 28 days lapse on the 10th of December 2020. Number two, crops, nuts and oils regulations 2020, tabled on the 4th of November 2020. Number three, public finance management parliamentary mortgage members scheme fund amendment regulations 2020, tabled on the 24th of September 2020, 28 sittings lapsed on the 23rd of February 2021. Number four, public finance management parliamentary mortgage staff scheme fund amendment regulations regulations 2020, tabled on the 24th of September, 28 sitting days lapsed on 23rd of February 2021. Number five, public finance management parliamentary car loan member scheme fund amendment regulations 2020, tabled on the 24th of September 2020, 28 days lapsed on the 23rd of February 2021. And finally, the public finance management parliamentary car loan staffs scheme funds amendment regulations 2020, tabled on the 24th of September 2020. 28 days are lapsing on the 23rd of February 2021. Honorable Speaker, the role of the Senate in scrutiny of statutory instrument is important, and the matter of concurrence should extend to the scrutiny of statutory instruments to ensure the interest of the counties is protected. I wish to thank your office for the support accorded to the committee in undertaking its work. I also wish to acknowledge the Secretariat support that the committee has received from the Office of the Clerk. Lastly, I wish to thank my predecessor, Senator for Nyamira, County Senator Okongo Mogeni, Senior Council MP, who steered the committee from May to July 2020, as well as the past and present members of the committee for their diligence in executing the mandate of the committee. I wish to thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senator. This was a very elaborate report from the committee. Thank you. Now we go to the Chair of JLAC, Senator Omogeni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to make a statement pursuant to Section 51 of our standing orders. Madam Speaker, the Committee of Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights is established pursuant to Standing Order 218.3 of the Senate Standing Orders. Madam Speaker, on the 26th of October 2020, the report of the Steering Committee on the implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report, popularly known as the BBI, was launched. Madam Speaker, the highly anticipated report proposed various constitutional amendments, policy and legislative amendments that not only affect the Senate, but also affect devolution in general. The committee therefore, Madam Speaker, resolved to study the proposed amendments to the Constitution and make a report to the Senate through a statement pursuant to Standing Order 51. Madam Speaker, the committee held substantive deliberations and has made various observations on the proposed constitutional amendments as contained in the BBI report, as is detailed in the statement that I'm presenting to the House. Madam Speaker, additionally, the committee has made proposals with a view to further achieve the objective of the BBI report, which is to protect the interests of the counties and to enhance the important role of the Senate, which as set out in this statement. Madam Speaker, I want to make it very clear from the onset that it is the view of the committee that constitutional amendment should never divide a country, but should divide the country. Madam Speaker, we have borrowed the experiences from many jurisdictions which have made attempts to amend their constitution, and an attempt to amend a constitution, Madam Speaker, should not elicit division or fights among citizens of a country. Madam Speaker, we looked at various jurisdictions where attempts have been made to amend the Constitution, with the result being that whenever the proposed amendment is carried, the country remains united, and when the vote is lost, the country still remains united. Madam Speaker, we looked at jurisdictions which have a legal framework of amending Constitution through referendum, and we picked out the case of Australia, Madam Speaker, and we noted that in Australia, Madam Speaker, there have been 44 attempts to amend their constitution through the referendum, and Madam Speaker, only 9 attempts have gone through. Madam Speaker, we also made a very important note from what happens in Australia, Madam Speaker, in that proposals to amend the constitution is based on questions that are presented to the public based on a particular issue or an article. In that, Madam Speaker, there are instances where the citizens of Australia have agreed to a proposed amendment on a particular article, but gone ahead to decline to endorse an amendment on another article, making it to be a win-win, whereby the entire bill is not lost, just in the event that the people who are participating in the referendum may agree on one issue and disagree with another. Madam Speaker, we looked at America, where, Madam Speaker, there have been over 10,000 suggestions to amending the American Constitution, Madam Speaker, and the prevailing legal position in America, Madam Speaker, is that 2/3 of the 50 states in America must endorse or ratify the proposed amendments, which gives us a number of 38 states out of 50. Madam Speaker, we learned that out of these 10,000 proposals, only 27 amendments have been able to win ratifications from the 38 states of the United States of America. We also noted, Madam Speaker, that at times people can make crazy proposals to amend the Constitution, like what happened in 1912, where somebody proposed an amendment to the American Constitution to bar marriage amongst different races. For example, Madam Speaker, somebody was proposing that a white person should never be allowed to marry a black person. That amendment never received ratification from the 38 states which are required to ratify any amendments. In a nutshell, Madam Speaker, the committee proposes that there should be discussions among various interest groups on the BBI report to enable this process carry forward all Kenyans. Madam Speaker, the committee noted that the way the Kenyan Constitution is drawn, especially Article 257, Madam Speaker, if the Senate loses an opportunity to make its recommendations and or to enrich the BBI report, once the bill is published and sent to Kenyans, there will be no room for amendment, Madam Speaker. And it's on that basis that the Senate emphasizes that the views that are being proposed by the Senate should be given due consideration by the team that is drafting the final BBI report before the report is finally released to Kenyans for referendum. Madam Speaker, with your permission, I want to very quickly touch on the various articles that the committee was able to consider. Madam Speaker, we started by looking at the proposed amendments to Article 90 and Article 97 of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, on these particular articles, the committee made note of the fact that the modalities of identifying the multiple member constituencies is not clear in the BBI report. This committee proposes, Madam Speaker, that the drafters of the BBI report and the Constitution Amendment Bill should provide clarity on this matter to avoid contention on the constituencies that will benefit from the multiple constituencies, Madam Speaker. Further, Madam Speaker, this committee noted that though the additional 70 seats are meant to serve the missing link on affirmative action, this has not been made clear in the proposed BBI amendments. Madam Speaker, the committee noted that the party list does not provide an answer to this problem of affirmative action, in that though a party is obligated to nominate at least 130 members of opposite gender, there is no guarantee that those that will be elected will attain the deficiency of the affirmative number given in, in our constitution. Madam Speaker, on the issue of population, we noted, Madam Speaker, that in the United States of America, Madam Speaker, the issue of population keeps shifting every 10 years, Madam Speaker. For example, we noted, Madam Speaker, that if people migrate from one state in America and the population of another state where they're migrating to increases, then after 10 years, Madam Speaker, the constituencies in that particular state increase. We take note of a state of New York, which experienced a decline in population, and it lost the number of representatives in Congress, but the representatives in the state of California has grown over time because of increment in population. So, Madam Speaker, is the recommendation of the committee that this issue of population and constituency needs clarity on the BBI report. Madam Speaker, on the role that is played by the Senate, this committee noted that though the body of the committee has singled out the reasons and objectives of the constitutional amendment as harmonizations of the roles that are played by the National Assembly and the Senate, in the report itself, Madam Speaker, there has not been clarity on the roles that are played by the Senate and the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, the committee therefore recommends that Article 96 of the Constitution should be amended so that we give the Senate full mandate on dealing with all legislations, save for money bills that should originate from the National Assembly but should still be considered by the Senate. Madam Speaker, we have borrowed examples that happen in many jurisdictions where we have a bicameral parliament. Again, Madam Speaker, we were able to look at jurisdictions like Australia. And Madam Speaker, the emphasis in Australia is that since both members of the Senate and members of House of Representatives are directly elected by the people, as is the case in Kenya, Madam Speaker, legislative mandate between the House of Representatives, in our case the National Assembly, and the Senate should be shared. That can be distinguished, Madam Speaker, with jurisdictions like United Kingdom, where members of the House of Lords don't enjoy direct mandate from the people through an election. Madam Speaker, we were also able to look at the case of United States of America, where again, Madam Speaker, the senators enjoy direct mandate from the people through elections and legislative mandate between the
Honorable
House.
Senators, please consult in low tones so we can follow.
Yes, Madam Speaker,
the report.
legislative mandate between the House of Representatives and the Senate in the US is again a shared mandate. Madam Speaker, what was of interest to the committee, Madam Speaker, is that in all these jurisdictions, because senators campaign in wider regions, they receive compensation by serving office for a longer period of time than their colleagues in the House of Representatives. Madam Speaker, in the United States of America, the representatives, the congressmen in the House of Representatives are elected for a term of 2 years. But the senators who are elected through the wider state enjoy a term limit of 6 years. Again, Madam Speaker, when we looked at Australia, again, those who are elected to the House of Representatives serve for a period of 4 years, but senators...
Order, members, order.
Senators.
Please consult in low tones so we can follow.
Senators who campaign from the entire state serve for a period of 6 years. So, Madam Speaker, you can see that there's a distinction in terms of the period that people who are elected from wider constituencies and who serve in the Senate, they serve for a longer period than those in the House of Representatives. Again, Madam Speaker, on this, Article 96, Madam Speaker, we also made note that there is now a paradigm shift on the way the executive is organized. We noted, Madam Speaker, that BBI proposes that members of the cabinet will now be domiciled in the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, to draw a clear distinction on the roles that are played by the National Assembly and the Executive, and now that the Executive will be domiciled in the National Assembly, Madam Speaker, the committee proposes that Article 96 be amended to give the vetting powers of various appointees to constitutional offices to the Senate, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we made a very important note, Madam Speaker, that those who will be nominated to serve as cabinet ministers and who are not elected members of the National Assembly should be vetted by the Senate. Madam Speaker, we also noted that there is an attempt to amend Article 154 and 155 to remove vetting of principal secretaries and several other appointees of the executive, Madam Speaker. It is the proposal of the committee, Madam Speaker, that the vetting powers should be restored in the Constitution and that this mandate be exercised by the Senate. Because, Madam Speaker, the executive will not be domiciled in the Senate. And, Madam Speaker, again, the committee has borrowed heavily from what prevails in other jurisdictions. We picked the US, Madam Speaker, where the Senate vets presidential appointees to the offices of Supreme Court, to the offices of district judges, to the offices of appellate circuit judges, and to all senior appointees of the government, including ambassadors. So, Madam Speaker, we are making a very strong case that to enhance accountability and responsiveness from the government, the Senate should get full mandate to vet and approve all constitutional office holders. Madam Speaker, on the issue of Article 97, Madam Speaker, which proposes to transfer the 47 women from the National Assembly, Madam Speaker, we have proposed, Madam Speaker, that the prevailing situation where the counties elect 47 women be retained. Madam Speaker, the committee went through the entire BBI report and we noted two crucial facts. One, Madam Speaker, we have not seen any recommendations made by any stakeholder to the BBI that can form justification why the 47 women should be transferred from the National Assembly to the Senate. Number two, Madam Speaker, we noted, Madam Speaker, we noted that the 47 women play a very critical role in being a link to very many vulnerable women groups, Madam Speaker. And we noted, Madam Speaker, that the women representatives from counties are given a kitty, 7 million for each county, that is used for the benefit of women. 7 million per constituency. And Madam Speaker, if you take the example of the county of, I think, is it Kakamega that has 11 constituencies? As 12. You can imagine that, Madam Speaker, all those constituencies are going to lose 7 million per constituency. Madam Speaker, this will cause a lot of suffering to our women because there was a purpose why this fund was created, and it was put under the management and responsibility of our women reps. Madam Speaker, we also took note of the fact that the women reps elected to the National Assembly have made a very strong case themselves, Madam Speaker, that they want to continue serving as women reps, Madam Speaker. We also noted, Madam Speaker, that in the rearranged new executive, Madam Speaker, there will be cabinet ministers appointed from the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, if you remove all these 47 women, you are denying the women of Kenya a chance to be appointed to the cabinet, Madam Speaker. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends to this honorable House that the prevailing position of 47 women reps being elected.
Senator, there is a point of order from Senator Nyamunga Ross.
Madam Speaker, I don't know if you're supposed to interrupt and make recommendations on this, but I think the chair is making are we going to be allowed to make because this is a lot of misleading. It's misleading this House.
Yeah, I'll give you a chance after he finishes. Yeah. Senator.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm simply making a statement of the committee. So Madam
Yeah,
Speaker.
what we want you to do is to read your statement.
Yes.
Don't campaign for women either in the National Assembly or in the Senate. Please read your statement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah.
So on that particular article, Madam Speaker, it is the recommendation of the committee that the elected senators, the composition of the senators be retained as it is currently. Madam Speaker, on the issue of Article 123 that is proposed to be deleted, Madam Speaker, the committee made note that Article 123 plays a very important role for the Senate because it's the one that gives guidelines on how decisions are made in the Senate, Madam Speaker. And this committee has proposed, Madam Speaker, that the proposal to delete Article 123 from the Constitution should be disregarded and the prevailing position be retained so that senators who are delegates from counties are allowed to cast their votes as delegates. And Madam Speaker, again, we have borrowed this from various jurisdictions where senators represent states. They don't represent constituencies. So in our case, Madam Speaker, we represent counties. Madam Speaker, on Article 108, Madam Speaker, we noted that the BBI has proposed amendments and provided for leadership positions in the National Assembly, Madam Speaker, but it is the recommendation of this committee, Madam Speaker, that there should be a provision for leadership positions in the institution of Parliament, Madam Speaker, and not the National Assembly, Madam Speaker. So the committee proposes, Madam Speaker, that whereas the National Assembly will have the position of leader of official position and the Prime Minister, BBI should consider, Madam Speaker, either creating the position of leader of government business in the Senate or retaining the prevailing position where there is leader of majority. Because, Madam Speaker, leadership of the Senate should also be anchored in the Constitution. Madam Speaker, on Article 153, the committee noted that now that we have rearrangement of the executive, Madam Speaker, there should be clarity, Madam Speaker, that to enhance the oversight role of the Senate, the Prime Minister and all cabinet ministers should be allowed to appear before the Senate to respond to questions on accountability as may be raised by the Senate. Madam Speaker, on Article 171 of the Constitution, which creates the office of the Ombudsman, Madam Speaker, the committee supports in principle the creation of the office of the Ombudsman, but Madam Speaker, in view of the fact that this office will be investigating judges, the committee recommends, Madam Speaker, that the Ombudsman should be an ex-officio member of Judicial Service Commission without voting powers. Madam Speaker, to also reduce the politics or the politicization of the institution of the judiciary, the committee recommends that the report of the Ombudsman should be tabled to the Judicial Service Commission and not to Parliament or to the head of the executive. Madam Speaker, this is to enhance the independence of the judiciary and to balance the interests of Kenyans of wanting to have some accountability on the institution called the Ombudsman. We also recommend, Madam Speaker, that the Ombudsman should be vetted and approved by the Senate and not by the National Assembly. Finally, Madam Speaker, on the proposed Article 200, an amendment to the fourth schedule that wants to give different status to the county of Nairobi, Madam Speaker, we made an observation, Madam Speaker, that this may be a violation of Article 27, where the county of Nairobi is being singled out for discrimination and being given treatment that is not the same with the other 46 counties, and this may elicit court litigation. So the committee recommends, Madam Speaker, that all the counties should be given equal status, and where necessary, transfer of functions should be through an act of Parliament. Madam Speaker, on the issue of Ward Development Fund, the committee supports the creation of the Ward Development Fund, but makes recommendation that the issue of how much should go to counties should be left to legislation, because there may be need in future to increase the 5% so that we don't need to do a referendum anytime there is need to increase the 5%. In fact, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that this 5% should be increased upwards for counties. We are of the view that 5% is on the lower side. Finally, Madam Speaker, on the issue of division of revenue in the proposed Article 218A, Madam Speaker, the committee is of the view that this amendment will create confusion and it will water down the role that is undertaken by the Senate under Article 96. Madam Speaker, we have also made an observation that the High Court in petition number 294 of 2019 made it very clear, Madam Speaker, that division of revenue is a very critical role on defending the interests of counties and their governments. And that, Madam Speaker, the Senate should play a very critical role. And if we don't agree on division of revenue, then even appropriation for the budget should not take place before this is agreed. Madam Speaker, transferring veto powers to the National Assembly will undermine devolution greatly, and it's the proposal of the committee that the prevailing position in Article 218 should be retained. Madam Speaker, that is the statement by the committee, and I beg to table. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator, for the elaborate report. I'm going to give a few members an opportunity to ventilate on this. And I want to ask Senator Mogeni to sit keenly because we don't give you a right of reply here. You are going to take notes and go back to your committee before you submit on behalf of the senators because that was a committee report. Yeah, what's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, before you exercise that discretion, because ordinarily we don't debate this kind of statement. It is simply given and left to lie where it has fallen. What I suggest to you, Madam Speaker, is the statement has made very, very important propositions on improving the BBI process, particularly in relation to the Senate, so that we don't look bad out there as engaging in altercations over a statement that is coming from our own committee. I would suggest that members who have got any dissenting ideas on the report to improve it by giving their views to the committee, other than us engaging in debate over the issue. And looking like we, as a Senate, we are running helter-skelter instead of having a unified approach to what we want to go to BBI. So I want to, the committee represents all of us, and anybody can sit in that committee as a friend of the committee when it's sitting. We didn't, because probably we are not told. But I want to encourage us that this house is under assault. This house is under attack. And to destroy this house is to destroy devolution. And we should not give our detractors an opportunity to see that we don't speak with one voice and assault us even more. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. But if you look at your standing order 51.3, it says that the Speaker may allow comments on observations in relation to the report tabled under paragraph 1. Which one is the report that has just been forwarded? So I say it so because I'll only allow 2 members from each side of the House. And, but what I agree with Senator Wetangula is that we are not opposing or supporting. We are just enriching. Please enrich and don't take us to the arguments of BBI. We are now trying to enrich our own document, because what the chair of the committee is assuring us is that that report will reach where it is required. So please, let's not debate on whether it will go or it will not go or where is it going. Let's just enrich what he has done. And if there are any comments that you want to Add, please add. I think I agree with Senator Wetangula that it's no time for us to fight against our own committee. With that, I will start with Senator Cheriot Aaron, and please don't let me stop you if you stray. Not you in particular, I'm talking of all the members. Let's not stray away from our debate. Senator Cheriot.
Madam Speaker, you know very well that as my teacher at the university, I followed all your instructions keenly. So I don't intend to change that today. I agree with the wisdom of our senior colleague, Senator Moses Wetangula, that while we may have divergent views on maybe one or two issues, the document largely reflects the views of many of us in this House, if not all of us, especially where they have dwelt on provisions on the Senate, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Article 123 of our Constitution is such an important article, perhaps the most important, perhaps even stronger than Article 96 that establishes, or maybe it will come second to Article 96 that establishes the Senate, Madam Speaker. Why do I say this? I say this, Madam Speaker, because having been in this House for fairly some good time, Madam Speaker, each time you see the whips of this House move around and look for that magical number 24, it will always stick somewhere at the back of your mind that they are looking for half the country to agree on a particular issue. If you water down the provisions of Article 123, Madam Speaker, as such that just by a decision of even the loudest of eyes carry any particular issue, including very important issues to the existence of a nation, Madam Speaker, then you're beginning to erode the gains that you have made as a society since 1963. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I agree with the proposals largely. I'm one of those maybe perhaps who agree 100% if I was to quantify my agreement with the propositions that have come from this committee. Madam Speaker, another very important provision, and I'll let this, our colleague, I'd beg to have the attention of our colleague women senators who strongly feel about this issue where every time we discuss the provision where there's a proposal to move what are currently referred to as women representatives to the Senate, that don't reduce it to be a gender issue. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, this is not a gender question, but it's about the dilution of the position of a Senate as compared to the rest of the 6 other positions on the ballot. When you go to the ballot every 5 years, Madam Speaker, there are 6 positions that you vote on. And the question that senators are asking, if on the other 5 positions, you're voting on the basis of the strength of an individual, how comes it is only the Senate that you want to reduce it to be voted on the basis of gender, where you're voting a man and a woman? If you feel that you want to be completely inclusive, then pass on the same provision right from member of county assembly all the way to the president. It is as simple. It has absolutely nothing to do with us saying that we feel lesser of being, and you know, I'd wish to plead with our colleague women senators that let us raise the bar of the debate. Even on this issue of a deputy governor, the issue is not about whether you are a man or a woman. To the best of my knowledge, if you ask many of the deputy governors that serve in this current dispensation, they'll tell you that their biggest cry for help is the fact that there is no clearly defined responsibilities for them and functions. Functions rank way above issues of gender. It will be important if you want to propose and say it must be a woman, okay. Personally, I do not hold very strong views about it. But at least give that woman some work. Don't just put any other woman to have without defining responsibilities for them. That's a discussion that you are saying. Let us find ways of improving and reaching this conversation, Madam Speaker, so that it can benefit all of us as Kenyans. Therefore, Madam Speaker, okay.
And his 3 minutes are over almost. You're supposed to be 3 minutes. I think you have 1 last minute.
I have 1 last minute, Madam Speaker, but you need to protect me. You know, I'm speaking right in front of the most vicious defenders of some of the things I'm saying. So I think that is what has made me dry on the on the throat, Madam Speaker. But in conclusion, Madam Speaker, this is what I want to request. And I want to request because the table office is here. This is such a wonderful presentation by the Senate that it shouldn't just be left as a report of this committee that will be presented somewhere. We have our social media pages as Senate. This report should be out for people to read and know what is the position of Senate on this particular matter. Newspapers need to know. We need to tell our public relations office to up their game. By tomorrow, newspapers will be out with provisions and what are the positions of most senators on this particular issue. This committee has done exemplary important work. Out of the 10 or 15 provisions that they are producing, if you disagree with one or two, it doesn't mean that the 13 others don't make sense. Therefore, I plead that these issues be properly highlighted. Let us discuss them soberly. Convince us with reason. Nobody is opposed to many of the issues that are being canvassed on the floor of this House, Madam Speaker. But most importantly, the final thing that I'd wish to say, our Constitution is a social contract, Madam Speaker. It binds us all. Let us avoid the very temptation where certain people would wish to exclude others. And on this I say, it's unfortunate that I say this, the leadership of the House is not here. What happened in Naivasha is regrettable, Madam Speaker. The fact that you can invite members of parliament to a meeting to the exclusion of others without giving a proper justification and criteria, don't take us for fools. Don't tell us about COVID, yet we know what were your considerations. That was extremely shameful of our leadership. I want to say thank you to JLAC for finally rescuing the conduct and the stature of Senate by doing this particular document. Thank you.
Senator. Senator Nyamunga Rose Ogendo. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Actually, I'm very surprised that if we are talking about gains and talking about the unity of this House, then why are we identifying a particular issue that was proposed by the public of Kenya? The issue of doubling the Senate was not a matter of women. It was a matter that came from the public, because the public felt that they needed more representation here, because all the views, please, I gave you your time, give me my time. And what I'm saying, all the views that were collected, it was coming from the public. And secondly, if we want to enrich the gains that we have made in the presentations, then I don't think we should be talking about the numbers, that we don't need the 47 women, because that is again on the Senate. We should be looking for other issues like how much money are we going to get so that we can do proper monitoring and evaluation. Those are the things we should be talking about. And if you are giving this House information, it has to be very accurate. Because if we are talking about the 47 women at the National Assembly and the money that has been allocated to them, kindly go ahead and look at what is going to happen to that money. Because it is already put there. That money will not move from the National Assembly. It is going to go to the top-up, the number of women that will be topped up after the elections are done. So that money will not move from there to any other house. So what I am opposing is the fact that we want to tamper with the gains that we are making, and we must know that Kenya belongs to all of us. We need each other, and I'm not saying that because maybe I'll be sitting here next time. I don't know where I will be sitting, but the truth is we should make a proper law that will be beneficial to all of us. And then any gain that we have made in the BBI, we should not tamper with it. As for any other thing, we can canvass, we can add any other thing, but we are not touching on the gains that we have made. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Haji Faria Ali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think most of the things that I wanted to say, the Speaker has already spoken about them. Madam Speaker, I thank the committee for doing thorough analysis of the document. There are a lot of good recommendations that they came up with, and we appreciate. Madam Speaker, the only problem I have with the committee, a bit of a problem with the committee recommendation, is removal of the 47 women from the Senate. Madam Speaker, in this country, when we talk about gender parity, people look at it from just one side of the coin. It's about women. I think gender parity is not about women. Let us understand that. And the other issue is that now that funds will be going to the county, there is 35% increase of county money to the counties, more money of the revenue of this country. There will be some women who will look at the soft side of that as well, who will decide that together with our male counterpart, there are certain critical issues that needs to be looked at that is different from their views probably, Madam Speaker. And one of the things that I feel that doesn't go right in our leadership in this country is that 50+1% of this country is not represented on the table. And remember, even in this Senate, there are 18 women in this Senate who are nominated. Of those 18, none of them have a voting right on matters concerning counties. So that means you can only vote on normal procedural motion. So, Madam Speaker, in terms of impact, that is not felt. So, Madam Speaker, I beseech our colleagues that the 47, if we wanted an amendment, we should say that if they are moving, let them move with the funds, if that is what they want them to do. And then the other issue is, like if you retain the funds for the 47 top-ups, there are some counties who will not get the top-up, so that will be unfair. So for me, I feel if they move to the Senate with their funds, not only will they protect matters that are concerning, the society as a whole, because women, we take care of societal issues. That is well known, Madam Speaker. And there are certain soft issues that our male counterparts, they think about the whole country as yes, but there are soft issues that they might not get it right. So can I?
Last one is Senator Wetangula Moses. It's the last. I had said the first two on which side of the House?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to encourage this House to appreciate...
Senator Musurube, you know, on a point of order? Not to complain about the two, but on a real point of order.
Honorable Speaker, I actually seek your indulgence because you see, this information that is coming, it is like it's representing the whole of Senate. We have women here who are really affected. And Honorable Speaker, there's some information that is coming on the floor of this House that I'm not certain that is actually accurate. The issue of transferring 47 women to the Senate, is it anywhere in the BBI or this is a new post being created? Is it really written that the transfer is there?
Honorable Senator, you are asking the questions that I was going to rule on. I was going to rule on what we do after this. So that's why we had said, because we have two motions that we must execute today. We have the T-bill and we have the Leader of Majority calendar change motion. Really, we will not have enough time. But I was going to rule later, and I can as well mention now, that the committee is very willing, and the chair of the committee has said they're very willing to receive any comments directly from members, and they can bring back the report. So we were going to give them a deadline when to bring back the report. Okay.
But before posting on the media, they should hear from us before going public and saying this is what women have said in the Senate.
Senator Musurube, if you heard what I said they want to receive the submissions before they come back with the report again. So it means we are going to have to receive that report again, most likely next week, because we will give them an opportunity to Zoom with anybody who is ready to come in. That is what I was going to rule, that we have a Zoom meeting and all feedback, and if you have any written submission, please give it to them so that we finish. Senator Jararge, you also still have a point of order?
Madam Speaker, on a point of order, this issue involves the entire Senate. And having been a former chair, and I'm happy they have raised the bar, is that I thought you would give us some latitude because, for example, on the issue of altering Senate calendar, I will not be moving any amendment. It will pass within 2 minutes. So why don't we converse on this and move to the T-bill? Then the other one on altering the calendar, I have already agreed it will pass. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Wambua. Give my other student the mic, please.
Thank you,
Wambua.
Madam Speaker, and thank you for acknowledging that I'm your student, Madam Speaker. I confirm that I went to school. Madam Speaker, you know, there is no matter before us today, yesterday, and tomorrow that is as important as the position of the Senate in the BBI conversation. Madam Speaker, I beseech you as your student and as your senator to find it in your heart to allow members to comment on this matter. It's important. Madam
Okay, thank you, Senator Langat.
Yeah, just thank you, Madam Speaker. Just also wanted to concur very concomitantly with what Chair Arge has said and Senator Wambua, that this is a very important matter that most of us should make our contribution, Madam Speaker.
Thank you,
so
Senator
kindly
Nderitu.
extend for us time.
Yeah, point taken, Senator Nderitu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to concur with my colleagues because this is a very live matter, and if we talk in different directions, Mr. Speaker, we'll be sending mixed signals to Kenya. So at least let us, you give us at least, even if it's 3 minutes, every member to be heard.
Thank you. Point taken, Senator Logorio Petronila.
Madam Speaker, I also want to request you that since this matter is important, you could reduce the time from 2 minutes to 1 minute so that somebody makes their point in 60 seconds. It's possible, Madam Speaker,
thank
because
you.
they'll just be repeating themselves.
Okay, thank you, Senator Masitsa. Naomi?
Madam Speaker, thank you. I'm rising to request, just as my colleagues, this is a live wire. This is a live wire material that we need to speak to. And in support of BBI or not in support of BBI, whichever the way, we need to be given as senators time to scoop this matter, please. Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you. So, Senator Wetangula, you have 3 minutes. Honorable Senator.
Thank you.
For avoidance of repetition, therefore, and we have said we are not doing the challenging debate. We are not challenging one another. We are only enriching and adding. Please, as much as possible, use 2 minutes. But since I started with 3 minutes,
Yes.
I don't want to reduce that. But Rose Nyamunga did a very good precedence by going for 2.5 minutes, not 3.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the statement by the chair, Senior Counsel Mogeni, is very good. It is good because it is dealing with the real issues. Are we as a Senate looking for a strengthened Senate or an expanded Senate and weakened altogether? Are we looking at quantity or quality, as my colleagues there is saying? Madam Speaker, Mutula Kilonzo and I, representing different formations, appeared before the drafting committee that is dealing with the final editorials of the BBI. And most of the issues that Senator Mogeni has said here, we conversed them on behalf of the Senate. And we even went further and presented to the committee the draft bill that this House collectively worked on what this Senate should be in the bicameral system of the Republic of Kenya. We have done that on behalf of the Senate. What I want to urge senators to do is, if we want, because there are so many competing forces and interests out there, if we honestly want to be listened to and be taken seriously, let's have a united voice. Let's speak with one voice. As we speak here, all these men are either husbands, they're fathers of daughters. We live with our women in whatever formation. So nobody here in their right senses is resisting the upgrading and progression of our women folk. Nobody's doing that. What we are saying is we want to have changes that make sense. That is all we are talking about. Madam Speaker, I have read the proceedings of BBI at the collection of views and the validation level. There is not a single proposal to enlarge the Senate by doubling its membership. But wherever that came from, let's look at the rationale of this, the practicality of this, and how it will operate. Other than saying, when you say that we don't need 94 senators, you are removing gains. Nobody is removing gains, because life is about progressive gaining of rights. And that's what we want it to be. So I want to urge my distinguished sister, Rose Nyamunga, don't be hyper on these things. Let's have a conversation that is rational, so that we all appreciate each other's point of view. And if we were to go back to tell them what we want, including but not limited to having more women here, we speak with one voice. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Cherargei Samson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
3 minutes.
I want to commend my former committee. I think they are still serious members. And I want to congratulate the current chair. I think I would have expected Senator Okongo Omogeni to thank me for steering to where he got it. Because, Madam Speaker, I remember upon your guidance, we met in Villarosa, Kempiske. We did come up with a draft bill that later was presented by you and other colleagues to the BBI task force team. And I'm happy these issues have come to fruition. Two things that I want to say, Madam Speaker, in comment. I think the issue of gender has been canvassed very well, and I'm happy Senator Faki was in that meeting. I think on the issue of veto powers that the Senate should be given, I agree with Senator Wetangula whether we want an expanded Senate, a strengthened Senate. Those are the conversations that we want to have as a House. We don't have a problem having our female colleagues joining us in this honorable House, but what is the function of the Senate? And I agree that we need to look at the issue of veto powers. We need to look at the issue of, especially, you remember, Madam Speaker, upon your guidance, we were able to move to court and they were able to reverse the effectiveness of 24 legislations that were not passed in concurrence with the provision of the Senate. And I think Senator Okongo Omogeni should factor in that issue of the decision of the High Court on the reversal of 24 legislation. Madam Speaker, on the other aspect, we must be made up out. And thirdly and finally, Madam Speaker, since the National Assembly will now be producing the cabinet ministers, the role of appointment and vetting of senior government officials, Madam Speaker, it will be prudent to give it to the Senate so that the Senate can have the necessary muscle, and even we can have the impact, even as we look into the future of expanded Senate. And it is not bad. It's good to have women around, and I'm excited to have more women in this House. We'll have many, many things that we can conquer, both private and public. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Masitsa Naomi Shionga.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate Senator Omogeni. Just a minute. I want to congratulate Senator Omogeni for bringing this issue in this floor of the House. However, the committee, you need to know that I, Senator Msurube, Senator Milko, we were a seed that died in this House, to germinate, to give out the 47 senator women that we are having in that whatever booklet we are calling the BBI. We were to die. We were denied the right to vote just because we are nominated. And it is good that we shall have our rights when it comes to 47. That is a big gain. Can you all senators clap for me? If you don't, then you are not a senator. Madam Speaker, the new seats that have been created, the 47, it is not a transfer. This is a new seat. It is not a transfer from that House. This is a seat in Senate. We have been having nominated. My 3 senators who are elected here, you included the Speaker.
Senator Kenywa, and please let it be a proper point of order, because we don't want to finish her minutes.
They should not finish my minute because they're men.
Madam Speaker, we want to treat this matter with the seriousness it deserves.
What is your
Madam
point of
Speaker, it's
order?
not a public rally whereby she talks about being clapped. Because if you have not clapped her, you are not senator. Madam Speaker, we need clarity and we remove some of this from the hazard because this is a very serious matter.
You have not told us what was out of order.
So I need to continue, Madam Speaker, because he didn't inform me anything. Madam Speaker, the only thing we need to do here in this House is to unite, to make sure that the function that we have been given here, the quantity of people that are being added here, we are united into making the functions, the funds follow the function, so that we can strengthen the devolution that we have been given as a mandate, and not a matter of fighting for the back. And these men, or these men senators who are here, they should thank God because we shall be equal and we shall fight together, not really fighting, but working together with you to make sure that the gains have been achieved, and not to see that we are just here to sit as if we are wasting time. We are here with a purpose. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mwinyi Haji Mohamed Faki.
Asante Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii. Kwanza tukubaliane kwamba ripoti iliyotolewa na kamati ya sheria na haki za binadamu ni ripoti ambayo inafaa kuungwa mkono. Na vipi ambavyo tutasongeza mjadala huu mbele ni kile ambacho tunataka kuongea hivi sasa. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna msemo wa Kiswahili unaosema wingi si huja. Bunge la Senate linaweza kuongezewa memba mpaka 290, lakini itakuwa hatujasaidia yale ambao Senate yanataka kufanyika, kwa sababu itakuwa ni nyumba ambayo haina uwezo wowote. Kwa hivyo tungependa ikiwa tunakuwa na Senate, tuwe na Senate ambayo imeongezewa mamlaka kama vile wengine wanaongezewa mamlaka katika taasisi tofauti tofauti. Kwa mfano, ofisi ya rais inapewa fursa ya kuchagua waziri mkuu na kumfuta wakati wote ambapo yataka. Kwa hivyo ile ni nguvu zaidi ambazo zimeongezwa kwa ofisi ile kuliko vile ambavyo iko sasa, kwa sababu sasa hakuna mamlaka ya waziri mkuu katika katiba. Kwa hivyo na sisi katika Senate lazima tuangalie ni mapungufu gani ambayo tuko nayo katika bunge hili na ni vipi ambavyo tutaweza kuongeza nguvu ili bunge litakalokuja la Senate liwe lina nguvu zaidi na mamlaka ya kutekeleza kazi zake za kutetea ugatuzi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuongezewa wajumbe wengine ama maseneta wengine 47 wa jinsia ya pili sio kwamba tunaongezewa nguvu, ni kuopewa idadi ya watu ambayo haitasaidia popote katika kuongeza ama kutetea devolution ama ugatuzi katika nchi yetu. Kwa kumalizia, Mheshimiwa Spika, ofisi za women rep zinapoteza zaidi ya bilioni 2 kwa mwaka, kwa sababu ukihesabu milioni 6 kwa county 290 wa kila constituency times 290 inakuja 1.7 billion annually. Kwa hivyo hii pesa ambayo ilikuwa inatakana iende kwa kina mama, tujiulize na kwenda wapi? Badala ya kuteta hapa katika bunge la Senate, tutataka 47 waje hapa, hata wakaja 100 hapa tuko tayari. Lakini tunataka kujua hii 1.7 billion ambayo serikali inaitoa katika ofisi za women rep itakwenda wapi? Mwisho kumalizia, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba wale wabunge waliotangulia mbeleni kuchaguliwa katika viti vya tofauti vya katika bunge wamefanya kazi kubwa kupeleka mswada wa kina mama mbele kuliko wale ambao tuko nao sasa. Kwa hivyo huo ndio mjadala ambao tunataka kuangalia ni njia gani tutaweza kusukuma mbele mjadala wa kina mama ili haki zao ziweze kulindwa, ili haki za watoto wetu wa kike ziweze kulindwa, na vile vile pia bibi zetu waweze kupata haki za kisawasawa katika katiba yetu. Mjadala si kwa nini awe mume ama awe mke. Mjadala ni vipi tutaweza kuongeza nguvu za bunge la Senate ili liweze kuheshimika kama inavyotakana. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Thank you. Senator Lokorio Betronina Wera.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to join my colleagues in thanking the Jailer Committee for this report. At least our voice would be heard. However, Madam Speaker, I expected that the committee would say something about oversight fund for the Senate, knowing that we are fighting to be strengthened in our oversight role. That particular idea of oversight fund has not been included. Madam Speaker, BBI should have focused on strengthening the Senate and not just in numbers
only. We cannot strengthen the National Assembly by making sure ministers and assistant ministers come from the National Assembly. Then you remove women from that crucial role of budget making, and that fund called the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, NGAF, you leave it in the National Assembly, then remove the women and bring them here just to come and vote. Madam Speaker, I want to agree with my colleagues that if we are bringing women in this House, we move with NGAF, and also are not just voting, and also that those women are also eligible for appointment to be ministers and assistant ministers. We don't just want women to come here to add on to numbers to vote. Madam Speaker, we are bigger than voting. We think, yes, we think we have great ideas, very, very big ideas. I helped in the stalemate on the revenue sharing formula, and I'm a nominated woman. So if you just bring me here to just be a voter, then we are not living up to expectations. So I support this report if they do some amendments like putting in the oversight fund and asking that the gains made in the 2010 Constitution for women are not lost. We can only add on, but we should not lose. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Langat, Christopher Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for also giving me this chance to congratulate the Earlier Committee for this very tremendous work they have done on matters this particular constitutional amendment. I want to say, Madam Speaker, that constitutional making process is a very, very important process. You know, the Constitution determines development of a country because it sets a framework for everything that will be done. So I want to say, Madam Speaker, that as Senator Wetangula was saying, when it comes to matters that are touching this particular Senate, we must work together and have one voice. We want to make sure that we strengthen this particular Senate. I want also to congratulate even the governors. The governors yesterday, when they were actually making
Senator,
No, I wanted to say something very important. They mentioned that the Senate should be strengthened. If others outside there, up to and including the citizen of this country, are also working so hard to make sure that this particular Senate is strengthened, what about us? So I want to say that imagine, Madam Speaker, the strength of the National Assembly, that all the cabinet secretaries of ministers will be coming from the National Assembly, up to and including even the ministries that serve the default functions. Even the Minister for the Devolution will be coming from that particular quarter. So you can see how strong the other house will be compared to this particular Senate. So I want to say, even when it comes to the matters, as Senator from Mombasa was saying, that the ladies in the other side have got affirmative, or what we call this fund. It is the money, affirmative or what? Yeah, that particular funding. Will they come with that particular funding to this particular Senate? And when they come with it, what will happen to the male senators who will not be having the same? So I want to say that this constitution, you know, when we are reading some things, I used to, when I was teaching literature, I don't know, you're standing, madam. And I want to say that when it comes to reading different scripts, there is a process of reading with the perception, ideas that you already have. That is what we used to call exegesis. But when we read it with an open mind and allow it for addition, for further, analysis and the rest, we are most likely to get a very more important document that will come out, including even the most important things. Imagine in the same thing, when it comes to matters agriculture, very little has been touched on the same. So I want to say, I congratulate this particular committee for the effort that they have made. And we must work let us put aside our political principles. The other time, when we were having a lot of problems during the division of revenue, our principles were very much aside. And the wananchi were actually up to our necks because they wanted to see money getting down to them. So I want to say, the moment we leave our political godfathers and principles outside and discuss this thing in Senate properly, we shall really have a great milestone, Madam Speaker. So I want to say that we must
Senator Cheriot. Or Cheriot has done. Senator Enoch Wambua.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to first thank and congratulate JLAC, led by Senator Senior Counsel Omogeni. This is not the first time that Senator Omogeni, you are rising to the occasion. You did the same thing in Naivasha when our leadership was either unwilling or unable to push forward the Senate agenda. You stood up for the Senate. Senator Omogeni, I thank you, I congratulate you. I will say just a few things about this document. One, Madam Speaker, this matter and this conversation about where 47 elected women should sit, I think we are making such a big fuss of a matter that, in my own opinion, is neither here nor there. Madam Speaker, moving women legislators from the National Assembly, the same number, and bringing them to the Senate is like taking money from one pocket to the other pocket and start arguing that you are richer. Madam Speaker, the women of this country deserve more and much better. When you move elected women from the National Assembly, where they stand a chance to be appointed Prime Minister, they stand a chance to be appointed Deputy Prime Minister, they stand a chance to be appointed to the Cabinet, and bring them to the Senate, where we are not even talking about oversight fund, is actually to demean the women of this country. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the Senate is currently constituted. When we sat in Naivasha, I heard members of the National Assembly fighting for the National Government Constituency Development Fund. I've heard members of the county assemblies fighting for the ward fund. The Senate of the Republic of Kenya must fight and fight to win the battle for oversight funds. Because what we are doing is not a favor to anyone, Madam Speaker. We are undertaking a constitutional responsibility as a House. Lastly, Madam Speaker,
No, Senator, it's not possible because we have a motion. I can give you 1 minute, but we need to pass the motion. Just do your 1 minute.
So, Madam Speaker, I was saying that the success of devolution is entirely dependent on the success of institutions that champion and guarantee devolution. What we should be moving forward doing, Madam Speaker, is to try and strengthen the institution of the Senate, not to expand it. An expanded Senate without commensurate powers and authority to carry out oversight and ensure the success of devolution is a useless house, Madam Speaker. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mwaura.
Madam Speaker, you know, we are having very interesting discussions here about what would constitute a functional upper house, really. And I think we were in Naivasha, and the mobocracy of Naivasha couldn't allow the Senate to have its way, to the extent that even our presenter had to be bulldozed to discuss, and even that. By the way, Senator Kabaka, congratulations. I liked your boldness. You are the one who led the pack. No, Kabaka, I know who I'm talking about, because he even frog-marched me from my chair to join the charade. You did a very good job, even Senator Wambua, because why not for that? You know, we were outnumbered, and there was a gag. You know, this idea that has permeated now the legislature, that if you have the representatives of the executive, you must shut up and be very grateful that some people can only speak. Madam Speaker, we have a golden opportunity to make the Senate the upper house. Personally, I don't really mind even if women were to come double. I know people are saying there will be the male senator and the female senator. Let us not go that direction. The issue is, even the Senate of the US has 2 senators from each of the states, but strengthen it. Let it be the upper house, so that the women who are here are also seen to be the upper women in terms of legislation in Parliament. Let us refuse the temptation of making this a man and a woman issue. That if you have more women in the Senate, then it has been degraded because of the status of women. I think that is what you call systemic discrimination and marginalization. Yeah, let us call a spade for what it is. Why are people considering that the Senate has been...
Senator Professor Kamar. Senator Professor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice to this. First, I want to thank the Chair and the Committee of JLAC for giving us a very comprehensive report. I want to thank them because they are creating room for us to do presentation, and they have assured us that there is going to be a presentation that will be heard and that will be added to the BBI. I think that is really the bottom line of this, and we're very happy about that. Number 2, I want to agree with members who have said we need a strengthened Senate. We need a stronger Senate. We need a Senate that does oversight in reality, because our job is oversight, legislation, and representation. It is very sad that, it would be very sad that when we release 35% of the revenue of this country to the counties, the oversight goes down. We must bring executive at the county level to account. We must ensure that when they are given this money, we actually see the impact on the ground. So as senators, we must really think of how we can do a proper oversight. And for that, I really support that the oversight fund must feature in the report that we are giving out. It must feature because we discovered that it has been difficult for 8 years to get this funding coming forward. In fact, Madam Speaker, I'm surprised that we are debating about the representation of women and men in this House. That is not the issue. We need to add value, because that is value for us. It is value for us to have women and men. Why am I saying so? I'm saying that because we are representing the same country that the National Assembly is representing. And we are saying it is the same country, the same counties have constituencies, and if we are going to take this just by the quota alone, if you use the quota alone, that we are going to take more than 30% of the money, then the representation should be more than 30%. So having 94 members is really the best thing that can ever happen to us. I want also to disabuse the fact that it was not in the document, and I wish Senator Wetangula was here, because I would have told him that we presented it. I was in a committee of women that presented that. And we said we really need to have a Senate that votes. And because, Madam Speaker, it is until you are stopped, like Shionga was saying, It's until you are stopped like Musuruve was stopped. It's until you are stopped like Senator Mulgo was stopped from voting that you realize that these nominated 16 are actually doing very little. They are at the mercy of the leaders of delegation and they are not able to do much. But we want them to perform because I have sat on that chair, Madam Speaker, and I have seen the performance of the women who are nominated. So for them to be stopped from voting is a most ridiculous thing. So it is good for them to be here on their own right. It is good for them to vote for this country. It is good for them to serve the country. So for the amount of revenue that we are giving, 30%, we must have 30% of representation in the Senate. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I would like to change we are going to come back to this to debate because I can see there's still interest, but we have to move to the next motion so that we can dispense of it, then we can come back to this same report. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, alteration of the Senate calendar, regular sessions for the 4th session, 2020, part 5, sorry.
Yeah, Honorable Senators, if you want to debate on the motion, kindly let's clear. If anybody who has logged in, let's just clear and then log in again. Just clear and log in again. For the motion number 8. If you want to contribute on motion number 8, that's when you log in. Clear and log again. Okay, now you can make your request. Senator Musurube? Oh, okay, just a minute. We had Senator Omugeni, who was on the floor, seconding. Kindly continue.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I'd actually made my remarks yesterday. I was merely seconding the motion. And the concluding remarks I wanted to make, Madam Speaker, is that it seems this country, we are now at the peak of the COVID-19. Some of us who have had some reports from Parliamentary Service Commission, we know that there are a number of our staff, our colleagues, who have caught this COVID-19. So let's be realistic as honorable members and take note of the fact that we are now at the peak of COVID-19, and we should agree with our leadership that they should put in place measures that protect our own safety, Madam Speaker. So in supporting this motion, Madam Speaker, it is principally for the well-being of honorable members of Parliament. So I second the motion and support, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on the 27th February 2020, approval of the Senate calendar on 15th September 2020 and 8th October 2020, alteration of the Senate calendar. Pursuant to Standing Order 29.4 and 31.3, the Senate resolved to further alter its calendar regular sessions for the 4th session 2020 in respect of Part V to hold one sitting on Tuesdays, beginning on Tuesday 10th November 2020 until Tuesday 1st December 2020, and that the Senate calendar regular session for the 4th session 2020 be altered accordingly. Senator Ambua.
Madam Speaker, you remember yesterday we had started a debate on that matter. And because we are a house of order, a house of tradition, the reason why we were unable to continue the debate on that matter yesterday was the issue of quorum. Madam Speaker, I rise on Standing Order number 35 to ask the Speaker to satisfy ourselves that we have quorum for that debate. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Can the bell be rung for about 3 minutes? Another 7 minutes. Can you ring the bell for another 7 minutes? We have quorum. Kindly stop the bell. Senator Dulo? Not yet. I don't see any interest on that. Or Senator Kamar? After amendment.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to move the following amendment to the motion, that the words Tuesday 10th November appearing after the words beginning on be deleted and substituted with the words Wednesday 11th November. Madam Speaker, I call upon Senator Professor Kamar to second this amendment. I thank you. So that I can have a chance to speak.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the motion be amended as proposed by Senator Dulo. Senator Kamar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support the motion in the amended format, and I support Madam Speaker because I think this COVID pandemic seems to be going up instead of going down. We had reached a situation where we thought things were coming down, but as we are talking, the number of infected persons is increasing in the country. We cannot be safe as a Senate because we interact with our constituents, we interact with other members of the public. So I really do support. I support, Madam Speaker, that we take 1 day in a week so that we reduce the number of days that we are in contact between ourselves, and further, that we also are able to have the place sanitized. This is very important. Madam Speaker, I say this because painfully we lost an MCA in Uasin Gishu County through COVID, and thereafter, when the other members of the assembly were tested, we had been in contact with him. Unfortunately, we had another 12 members who were already positive. We also had 27 staff, which brought down the whole assembly. So bearing in mind that you can actually have a whole assembly with 40 people going down, it is possible anywhere, including this Senate. So we need to remove that possibility of this Senate being totally affected. So for that reason, I really believe that the House Business Committee was wise to recommend that we take a break and come back for only 1 day in a week. With that, I support.
Honorable Senators, I think this is a simple motion that is touching all of us, and I would like to stop the debate and ask Senator Dulo to make a reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to
Just
reply.
1 minute, Senator Dulo. I put the question, Honorable Senators, I now put the question that the motion be amended as proposed by Senator Dulo. So, Senator Dulo, go ahead. A bit of confusion. Honorable Senators, I now put the question that the motion be amended as proposed by Senator Dulo. May as many as are of the opinion say aye. And those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. So, Honorable Senators, we go back to the main motion, and we can debate on it as amended. I will just give one senator to make comments, just one senator, and then we will conclude this motion. Senator Haji.
Asante Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii. Nimesimama kupinga mswada huu wa kubadilisha vikao vya bunge kutoka Jumatatu, Jumanne, Jumatano na Alhamisi mpaka Jumanne, yani siku moja kwa wiki. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimekuwa hapa kutoka jana na ripoti muhimu ya kamati yangu. Na jana nilikaa hapa kuanzia saa 8:30 mpaka saa 12:30 tulipoahirisha kikao. Sikuweza kupewa fursa ya kuweza kuendeleza hiyo ripoti, na leo vile vile nimekuwa hapa kutoka saa 8:30 mpaka saa hii saa 12 pia sijaweza kupata fursa ya kuendeleza ripoti yangu. Mheshimiwa Spika, hii inamaanisha kwamba wakati ambao tuko nao katika bunge ni mchache, hatuwezeshi sisi kuweza kukamilisha ratiba ya kazi ambayo inatakana kufanyika kwa ile siku ambayo tunakaa. Kwa hivyo iwapo tutapunguza vikao, hiyo ni kikao kimoja kwa wiki, ina maana kwamba kutakuwa na msongamano wa kazi inayofanyika hapa katika bunge la Senate, na hiyo itamaanisha kuwa kazi zingi zitaweza kuchelewa na wabunge ama waseneta ambao wana shughuli zao katika bunge hili wataweza kuvunjika moyo na wataweza kuhudhuria vikao. Mheshimiwa Spika, japokuwa tuna tahadhari kwamba ugonjwa wa corona upo na umeweza kuathiri baadhi ya watu wetu, lakini vile vile pia ni kwamba hata kikao cha mara moja kwa wiki kinaweza sababisha maambukizi ya gonjwa la corona. Kwa hiyo itakuwa si salama kwa wabunge kuhudhuria hata kama ni kikao kimoja. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesimama kupinga mswada huu wa kuahirisha vikao na kuwa na kikao kimoja kwa wiki, kwa sababu hautasaidia pakubwa kupunguza kazi ambayo tuko nao mbele ya bunge kabla ya vikao kuahirishwa tarehe 1 Disemba mwaka 2020. Mheshimiwa Spika, naongezea tu kwamba ni muhimu kwa vile tunafikia mwisho wa mwaka tuweze kuzingatia kwamba zile kazi ambazo zilikuwa zimepangwa, zimeratibiwa kufanyika, zimeweza kufanyika, ili tukiondoka kwenda mapumziko ya Krismasi na mwaka mpya iwe tumeweza kumaliza kazi zetu ambazo zimeweza kupangwa. Kwa kumalizia, Mheshimiwa Spika, anasema kwamba wale ambao wameathirika na ugonjwa huu tunawatakia afueni ya haraka, lakini vile vile pia ni kuwa tukifunga bunge ama tukiwa na vikao vichache hatutaweza kukamilisha kazi yetu ya kuweza kuchunguza na oversight serikali kwa wakati huu mgumu wa COVID, hususan huu wakati ambapo sasa limekuja shambulio la pili la maradhi ya COVID. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Wario Golich Juma. Senator Wario.
Asante Bi Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii. Bi Spika, nimesimama kupinga hoja ambayo iliyotolewa ili kuakhirisha bunge na kuweka siku moja kwa siku. Vile msemaji aliyonitangulia seneta wa Mombasa alivyosema, kwa hakika hata siku moja tukikaa katika kikao hapa, kama maambukizi yatakuwa yanaendelea, basi hata hiyo siku moja maambukizi yanaweza kuendelea. Bi Spika, tuko katika mwisho wa mwaka, vile unavyojua saa hii tuko mwezi wa 10 kuelekea mwezi wa 11, na tuko na kazi nyingi ambazo bado zinasalia katika bunge, na tukipunguza kwa siku moja, hiyo inamaanisha ya kwamba kazi nyingi ya bunge ambayo ingeweza kufanyika mwaka huu itavuka kwenda mwaka kesho. Bi Spika, na vile mambo muhimu kama BBI saa hii inaendelea na kuzungumzwa, kama bunge hii itakuwa na siku chache kidogo, wana Kenya kule watavunjika moyo sana, kwa sababu watu wako na imani sana na bunge ya Senate, na hasa wakati ule ambao sisi tulifanya mambo ya maajabu na kuweza kuleta moyo wa Wakenya wote pamoja. na imani yao ni bunge hii ya Senate iweze kufanya kazi yake kwa siku 3. Nami nilikuwa nikiomba leo yote hapa ni kuweza kuongea, lakini sikupata fursa hiyo. Hiyo inamaanisha ya kwamba kuna msongamano ya maombi mengi katika bunge hii, watu waweze kuongea. Ndio kwa sababu sisi tunasalia kuendelea kuomba na tusipate nafasi hiyo. Kwa hivyo, Bi Speaker, tusijinyime hiyo haki ya kuzungumza mambo ya watu wetu katika bunge hili. Mambo ya maambukizi ya corona kusema kweli iko duniani kote, na si mimi ninaona hii ugonjwa haitaondoka hapa Kenya, kwa sababu kama wakati ile tumefunga mashule, tumefunga macolleges na tumefunga misikiti, tukafunga kanisa, hii ugonjwa bado haijasikia, bado inatufuatafuata. Leo hata tukafunga bunge, tutaenda kurudi kufunga makanisa na misikiti, hii ugonjwa bado itatufuata. Kwa hivyo tusitoroke kwa ule ukweli, tusikue waoga ya kwenda kwa siku moja ama kufunga bunge hili. Hilo halitakuwa suluhisho. Sisi tusimame kideti, tuweze kuleta mikakati ambayo ni ya kupigana na ugonjwa huu ili tuweze kumaliza huu ugonjwa. Lau tutakuwa tunatoroka huu ugonjwa, basi itakuwa sio suluhisho, mambo yetu yataenda kudorora. Nimesimama kupinga, na pia nachukua fursa hii kwa
let me call upon the mover, Senator Dulo, or Senator Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I just want to, I beg to reply. Madam Speaker, this is a straightforward a procedural motion. It is, we have actually tried to tell members why we are doing this. It's not a permanent thing. We are doing it for a very short time. Just we can come back for a week, once a week, for a very short time. It's not forever. We'll come back and we can change the calendar anytime. So I'm asking for us to support this so that we can use it next week and maybe the following week. And I want to appeal to my chairman, Munyihaji, please support that we have this change so that next time we can come. But let's have a break. Many assemblies are actually closing for weeks, closing completely. We are saying we come back for just once a week. So I want to appeal to my colleagues to support this change in the calendar. I beg to reply. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Honorable Senators, I put the question that notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on 27th February 2020, approval of the Senate calendar on 15th September 2020 and 8th October 2020, alteration of the Senate calendar, pursuant to standing orders 29.4 and 31.3, the Senate resolved to further alter its calendar regular sessions for the 4th session 2020 in respect of Part V to hold one sitting on Thursdays beginning Wednesday 11th November 2020 until 1st December 2020, and that the Senate calendar regular session for the 4th session 2020 be altered accordingly. May as many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. And those of the contrary opinion say nay. Nay. The ayes have it.
Order number 9, motion. Order number 9, motion. Adoption of the report of the Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation on the Crops Tea Industry Regulations 2020, legal notice number 97 of 2020.
What's your point of order? You've not even you have not logged in. Please, first of all, log in before we give you the opportunity. If anybody wants a point of order, you know what to do, senators. So as it is, Senator Musuruve.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, before this motion that has just ended, I know there is there's a report from JLAC that we were actually ventilating on, and you did mention that we'll go back to it so that we can also express our thoughts, because the report was talking about the entire Senate with regard to the stand on BBI, Honorable Speaker. And I just seek your indulgence because I have a few points that I would like to go on the floor of this House concerning the Senate position on BBI report. So, Honorable Speaker.
Senator, I've gotten your point. What I would ask you to do is, I've seen interest, so I don't know if it is on order number 9, but if we, because I'd given a ruling that we'll go back to that, to make comments on that report. So can you unlog, just log off and then log in so that we go back to the report? First of all, let's log off and then log in. Log out and log in. Yeah, then just take your seat. Then I can see interventions. Senator Kinyua, what is your intervention?
Madam Chair, I'm raising because I had already keyed, I wanted to talk after, just before that motion. But Madam Speaker, you did that deliberately to gag me. And even if we lost in that motion, we did not lose genuinely.
Tawario, I can see you have an intervention.
Yes, Madam Speaker, equally, when the voting was going on, we had no quorum, and I wanted to raise the
Senators, we cannot go backwards to a decision that has already been made, because when it depends on when you start the debate. By the time we're starting that debate, we had quorum. So you can only stop a debate at the beginning. You cannot come at the end of it all. So that one is irregular, Senator. Senator Musuruve.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity and talk time to ventilate, comment on the issue of the JLAC committee. Honorable Speaker, the committee must be candid that the views they're representing are not views of all women, Honorable Speaker. We already have gains in the BBI report where we have a 2/3 gender rule has been observed. And if we can remember very well, Honorable Speaker, even before this report, there was already a case in court, and CJ Maraga had given a ruling concerning the 2/3 gender rules, but the BBI report comes in to solve it in the Senate. And also, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that when women are in the Senate, whatever goes to the male senators will also go to the female senators in terms of oversight. So they should be fighting to get their oversight so that both senators are empowered, those will be in here, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that the male senators should not be afraid of an expanded Senate, because, Honorable Speaker, as we have observed, I've gone through a lot of humiliation when I was supposed to vote, and Senator Malala actually wrote a letter to the Speaker to say that I should not vote, Senator Naomi should not vote because you are a delegation. But, Honorable Speaker, when we have 50-50 senators, it means that even women senators will have a right to talk about issues that concern women. Article 43 of the Constitution talks about the rights of the socio-economic rights which women can talk about. And Honorable Speaker, and also women can also ensure that money goes to the counties for the purpose of ensuring that Article 43 is executed. Honorable Speaker, in fact, what should be happened is that the Senate should talk about persons with disabilities and also the youth. They have no representation, and the gains they had in 2010 Constitution should not be lost, Honorable Speaker. The men should be mindful of the women here, Honorable Speaker. They should not use divide and rule so that women fight each other, yet we already have gains. And I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, that Right Amolo Odinga is keen about issues of inclusivity. The President is keen about issues of inclusivity, and inclusivity has been achieved in the Senate 50-50, Honorable Speaker. So I want to suggest, Honorable Speaker, that we should give our presentations to the male counterparts, and they should not go to the media and say that this is what the senator said. What they want to say.
Senator Milgo Alice Chepkorir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to speak to the same issue on the representation in the Senate, that I do not see the reason why
50-50 actually is a challenge in this Senate. Madam Speaker, as I'm speaking right now, I have a letter that in this case do not allow me to forward to any in any issue in this Senate. Madam Speaker, I'm still very humiliated, and it has taken me time to come back after receiving such a letter. Madam Speaker, many of the speakers that came ahead of me felt that voting is of no use, but I want to say that voting has done several things, Madam Speaker. As I'm speaking right now, in the United States, President Trump was trounced by Joe Biden because of a vote. Madam Speaker, voting in the same vein goes a long way to ensure that bills passes, to ensure that motions passes, and in this case, even during division of revenue bill, we spend a long time voting to ensure that we have the right numbers. That does not mean that voting is not important. Therefore, we want to have women in this Senate and those women that are empowered to be able to vote as well. We are speaking to issues of 47 women in the National Assembly that have been given what you call NGAF. Let me say, Madam Speaker, I think you came from there as well, that these women have really suffered because that amount is so little, and in any case, normally they are even demonized to the extent that people normally refer to MPs as well as governors, and normally those women are taken as just a women rep. Normally when people are being introduced, they become secondary women, and therefore, I think out of that 70, maybe they can still retain the 47 women, but then what we should be speaking to as a Senate is to have our CSS appointed from Parliament, so that she shall have some senators joining ministerial positions as well, because being a senator, in this case, empowers any senator to have a representation, in this case, to speak to issues, legislation, as well as oversight. I think we should be speaking, and in this case, fighting for oversight funding, and not fighting to remove the women canes that are already in the Senate. And so, I think our male counterparts, with due respect, should not be afraid of the women that will be in the Senate come the future. You can see, if you can look at this House right now, Madam Speaker, and in most cases, you will find that it is the nominated women that has been ensuring that this Senate goes up to 6:30 each and every moment, and therefore, women are equally important, just like the male senators. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Senators, it is now 6:30 p.m., time to interrupt the business of the Senate. The House therefore stands adjourned until Tuesday, 17th November 2020 at 2:30 p.m.